AMA from CMR.
Brought to you by J. Michael, Fashion for Everyone. Let's get some headlines this morning from Sandy at CMR. Good morning.
Good morning, Blake. How are you?
We are good. How you doing?
Good. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
3 commercial premises have been burglarized over the long holiday weekend, according to the RCAPS. They're monitoring the situation. The first one was at a storage warehouse on Gordon Avenue on Saturday. Persons gained entry to the warehouse by damaging the door, and they stole construction supplies and a generator. The other 2 were discovered Monday morning, July the 3rd, one happening on the waterfront, at a waterfront bar on South Church Street, where a small storage room was broken into and several cases of beverages were removed, along with a leaf blower. Interesting.
Okay.
And then there was another one at a beach bar on West Bay Road, south of Lizard Run Drive, where the culprits gained entry to a storeroom by damaging the lock and again stealing some bottles of liquor and a safe containing a quantity of cash.
Why would you leave cash on premises? That's just... I mean, you shouldn't be robbing places, right? But you have to do what you can to deter thieves.
Absolutely. 15 Cuban nationals arrived in Roatan a couple days ago, claiming that they had escaped from the Cayman Islands. They basically said that they were being held here as prisoners. In an interview given to one of the local media houses in Roatan, Honduras, one of the men said that their aim was to go to the U.S., but they stopped in the Cayman Islands. And he said that there's no democracy here or freedom. There's no democracy or freedom in Cuba, and that they were in search of a better life. It's strange because we've received no reports from CBC that 15 Cubans have left or are missing. So who knows?
Well, if he was going to the United States, he was going the wrong way.
Yeah. All right. KMAS, the organizers of that event have apologized after we highlighted on yesterday's program all the debris that was strewn all over the road. They said it was an error on their part. Nobody remembered to actually book the cleaning company.
What?
And so, they meant to send an email, but it was sitting in the inbox is what they said.
Come on.
So anyway, so they apologized.
That's not an acceptable answer.
So they said they're going to make it up to us by doing some community cleanup. So we'll see.
So who ended up cleaning up the mess?
They eventually said that they got somebody out there on Monday.
Okay. Well, that's a good answer.
Absolutely. Those are your beautiful headlines this Wednesday morning.
All right. We'll catch your show on Bobo 89.1 FM.
All right, folks. Good morning. How is everyone doing? Hope you guys are well. Going to get started here in about 4 seconds.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
beautiful reason I have no camera today. Well, I know what the reason is. When you got hubby unplugging stuff, something gets unplugged that shouldn't be unplugged. So there's no camera today. I was quick time trying to find the other part of the wire to see where it's unplugged, but I don't know. That's not my job today. So I think what we could do is we do have a secondary camera here. Let me see if that one will work. We can try it. Yeah. I don't know, folks. Let's see. There we go. I guess we can turn this one up. Is that better than nothing at all? I'm not really sure. All right, let me know. That's a weird angle because it's really like the second camera, which normally is down this way. So would you rather see that or just a still photo of me? As you can see, it's a huge difference in quality. All right, we'll have to work with it. Was connecting a new scanner last night, and I think he probably unplugged the other camera and didn't realize it. So I'll leave him to sort that out this evening. In the meantime, we got a full show ahead of us. Good morning. KK says we're on a bad Skype call, right? That's exactly what it looks like. Oh my gosh. Can y'all see the difference in quality? Quality matters, folks. I'm telling you, quality matters. And sometimes you don't recognize how bad something is until you have something to compare it to. Isn't that the truth? It's all relative. You don't know how bad your life is until you see something a little bit better or you experience something a little bit better. And then you're like, wow, my life could be this good. Let me get rid of this no good husband. And some of y'all be rushing to make decisions then. Anyway, buenos dias. Good morning. Let me just have a quick look here. Make sure I send out all of the notifications to everyone. I got some breaking news for y'all this morning. You know that we keep on top of it. Yes, Miss Morna, notifications coming. Give me a second. I was trying to sort out the camera issue. I was down on my knees trying to get the camera sorted out, but there's so many cables connected to this computer that I have no idea where those are at. Okay. So yes, Miss Morna says, with or without the camera, the show must go on. That's right, honey, chill. I got a new mouse connected. KK, I'm laughing at your comment about the car. This camera is better. Better than what? Certainly not better than the other one we're using. Better than nothing. Sometimes you just got to take what you got to take, kind of chill. Something is better than nothing. A lot of us live by that philosophy as well. And that's not always true, you know. Sometimes you're better off with nothing because there's something that you're settling for. Really lowers your standards. You know, when I was in holiday, I had a lesson, and not me had a lesson, other people around me had a lesson in why I do not settle for certain things in life. And someone made the comment to me that, oh, you know, sometimes you shouldn't take such a hard line. You should just you're being too uppity, too bougie, whatever. And I said to myself, I said, listen, two things. Number one, when you come from where I've come from in life, poverty, but I'm carefully using that word because I'm aware that what the poverty that I experienced, a lot of you would have, depending on where you're from, experienced poverty that's 10 times worse than that. So I don't want y'all to believe that, it was like poverty in India or something like that. I mean, that's real poverty. Even Cuba, the level of poverty there is different. But I grew up poor. I would say I grew up poor. There's no shame in that. And I've worked really, really hard to get where I am today. And I feel like there's certain things that I'm simply not going to compromise on. And it has nothing to do with trying to be better than anybody else. It has nothing to do with trying to be bougie or whatever. It's that I've worked hard and there's certain things that I'm just not going to settle on and I'm not going to compromise on anymore because I shouldn't have to. And I think that when you have children, the lesson that you pass on to your children when they see you in certain situations where you're like settling, even when you travel, right? Where you decide to stay and staying with family members or whatever, you're teaching them that they should be settling in life. That's one lesson that my daughter doesn't need to learn that lesson, right? Set your standards high, reach high, work hard, and achieve those things. Don't settle for people, situations, environments. No. And so initially the person was saying that to me. And after I explained to them, first of all, I don't really care what you think. But secondly, I'm not going to settle. And here are the reasons why. I always think of my daughter and the example. You do things and you don't have to say anything to your children. Your behavior demonstrates to them what it is that you stand for and what it is that you're doing. And I said, my daughter has to understand that in life, we're not settling. Just like I can't settle for her, certain behaviors from her. I'm like, nope, that's not good enough. She has to have expectations of herself and expectations of other people, situations, and places. And so everything is relative, though. You know what I mean? So we're going to settle this morning for a lesser image, but you better believe tomorrow morning we won't be settling for that because we're going to fix this situation. So it's a temporary settlement. Good morning. Irvlin says, I will not settle for less. Never settle for less. People or nothing, says KK. Good morning to Miss Olive. Irvlin says, I totally agree. Good morning, Wee Wee. How many of you are settling this morning? This is a little bit off topic, but how many of you are settling in your lives this morning? I mean, we do it all the time. I think we've all been there. We've done that. But let me move my little foot mat over. But I think that, as you mature, you should be less willing to settle. Life is too short, honey child. What are you settling for? You don't have to. Some of us are settling for men. Oh, Lord, we've all been there. I was looking at this story this morning with the police officer, poor her, in a relationship with a man. And, listen, I don't even want to go in this direction, but we need to have this conversation about no good men and women for that matter. Some of them just don't mean you any good. And the sooner you recognize that, the better. Some men and women can't be faithful to save their lives. That's just not in their DNA. They weren't raised in an environment where they respected their relationship or they saw their parents respect each other. So their entire lives, they believe in always having one mean squeeze or two mean squeezes, because some of them believe they can handle more than one. And then about 2, 3, 4, 5 side pieces. And I feel like we've all been in a situation where sometimes you don't even know that you're the side piece. But when you find out, you've got to quickly extricate yourself from the situation. You leave. Okay, don't stay in it. And don't get mad at the other woman. I hate when women do this, when they want to pick a fight with the other woman over some no good man. You really don't want him. You're settling for a man who has already disrespected you, has numerous women in his life. And it's like, why would you want that when you think about it? Because he's always going to be that way. I don't think men like that change. No. They want to make you believe they can change. Oh, yeah, I'm going to settle down with one woman. Yeah, right. Mr. Andy joining us from La Ceiba. Buenos dias. Diamond Princess. Miss Morna. She says, with or without the camera, the show must go on. That's right, honey child. But don't be settling for these no good men. There's something else. Oh, my God. Now this woman she has her career on the line. She's probably gonna get convicted, lose her job, lose her reputation, lose her good name. And somebody said to me that she's actually a really nice person, and I'm sure that she is. Most people who get caught up in these situations, it's not that they're bad people, right? You're like, oh, she's a really nice girl. And you know what? She's actually very pretty. Why? I don't know what schlong she's trying to settle for, but Lord Jesus, he probably don't even look like nothing. And here she is lowering herself to his standards. But you know what happened when it's sweet, it's sweet, it's sweet. You get all up in your feelings and you get confused and, it's just a hot mess. Omiria says, don't worry, you still look beautiful. Oh, you're so sweet. Good morning, Marshall. So, KK says, I ain't fighting over no man. I don't see who he is. I don't care who he is, sorry. Husband, side piece, nada. And I bet you the same man out there flaunting his buddy, but the place, and she's now in a hole trying to get out without employment when that case is over. Hashtag hot mess. Yep. It's a sad situation. Look at her. She's actually a beautiful woman. Which nut has her running around like a desperate squirrel, trying to grab onto him? Anyway, this is Police Sergeant Karen Watson accused of misusing her office to access data on a woman who had a relationship with the same man that she was in a relationship with. She's expected to stand trial this month after the court decided that she had charges to answer to. Sergeant Watson has had an application for the dismissal of the charges. However, last month, Justice Cheryl Richards refused to grant the dismissal, saying that the policewoman had charges to answer to. Watson was then allowed to enter a plea. She's pleaded not guilty to the conduct of the misconduct of public office in the Grand Court. Allegations are that Watson, with the assistance of a telecommunications company employee, oh Lord, and I know who that employee is too, that my little friend. Oh, geez, peace. Why would he get himself mixed up in this? Access data on the woman on at least 2 occasions without the required authorization. She then made contact with the other woman who realized Watson had accessed her personal information, including messages. The woman then filed a complaint against Watson. Wow. Honestly, this is actually a pretty serious situation. Not only are you talking about breaches of personal data, but misuse of office is a very, 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 very serious offense. I feel sorry for her, but she should have known better. I mean, honestly. And who the man is. I want to know who this man is. Child, got these women running around like they're a bunch of fools. Wow. This young lady is beautiful. She could probably have almost any man she wanted, but she latched on to some no good man cheating on her. And then, she's trying to do some undercover scoping out of the other woman. Well, you can't do it in that way. That's for sure. Wow. Sad situation, but we'll keep y'all updated. And Dean says, I'd rather be alone and happy than to be with someone and sad. Leroy says, really? Yes, Leroy. Evelyn says that she is a nice person. And, nice people do stupid things. They make poor decisions about different areas of their lives. And I think that if there's one area that you're probably going to make a poor decision about, let's be honest, relationships. We've all kind of been there to some level, some extent, right? And hopefully we live and learn. Because like I said, a lot of these jokers out there that you're willing to break laws for, they're not even worth it. Lord. Miss Morna says, Sandy, it's called man shortness. Man shortage. Is that what we still got going on around the place? I don't know. That's why sometimes you got to import one or two. And there really is no man shortage worldwide. There might be one in Cayman. There's a good man shortage in Cayman. I don't know about a man shortage because, child, they look like they're around every corner. But anywho, I would say import. That's your better bet. And it helps the DNA pool as well. KK says sweet, and he out there throwing it around. I know well. It not that sweet, my dear. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. You know what is so funny is most of these men who are out there cheating, they're not very good between the sheets. They're not good in bed anyway. They're like little rabbits, jump on, jump off. But you know, they don't even have the time to take their time to really romance a woman and all that kind of stuff. Oh Lord, y'all be settling bad. Everton tell her to get in touch with me. I'll take her to the States and she can stay with me. Oh, look at Everton trying to make some moves on the sergeant. Well, she'll need a new job. So I hope you got a job for her. And I'm assuming, Everton, you got American papers because she'll be needing residency too while you're at it. But she's not a bad looking woman, so she might be able to start over somewhere. Good police job, gone down the drain. KK says, is he in trouble along with her, the telecom employee? Yes, he has been charged as well. Kevin has been charged with, hold on here now. Let me try and remember. What was the original story? Did we tag the original story? Oh, I'll see if I can find it. But yes, he has been charged. I think he was working for, was he still with Digicel? He used to be at Digicel. I don't know if that's who he was still with, but let me think here now. Somebody says, Sandy, all the good men are taken. Oh Lord. Are they really? Sometimes you gotta dig a little bit deeper. Let me ask Renee if we mm-hmm. All right, let me ask her because she should have linked that in here. So, oh yes, she did in February. The ombudsman should. Okay. Oh yes, I see it now. It's further down. Okay. Yes, so he was charged. He's charged with, I think so, a former employee of a local telecom company. Oh, I guess they fired him for that probably. Facing criminal charges after the ex-employee allegedly unlawfully shared a customer's personal information with the officer, which was used for personal purposes. And you know what? He's been with them a really long time. I think he was still with Digicel. I haven't seen him in years now, but wow, that would be unfortunate if that's the reason why he lost his job. That's messed up. Morning, Siobhan. Alejandro, good morning. Says, who's getting the whip today? Stand by. Irvelin said, should have never done that. Leroy said he can stay in the back of the classroom because he intends to behave. Come see what the man looks like, says Andine. And you know what? Let's put looks aside because, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I see some of y'all be attracted to really ugly men, but that's okay. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Everybody looks and they see something different when they look at people. You know, what I would say is the other assets that the person brings to the table tend to not even be worth it. Half of them not got no good jobs. They're lazy. Obviously, they're cheaters. You don't always want to be looking over your shoulder like, oh, who's he going to cheat with next? Is it going to be my best friend, the helper? Whew, they be all into situations. Some of them have no discretion, right? They're not even going to cheat with somebody on your level or, you know, better than you or anything. Child, they be going low, 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 low. Lord. Good morning, Ramsey. He's having a good laugh this morning. Y'all so funny. Ay, 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 caramba. So listen, I subscribe to, I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter. We're on Twitter because we post our stuff on Twitter. There's hardly anybody following us on Twitter, to be honest. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, that's where it's popping off, right? But I do get these alerts of like other people who've like tweeted stuff. So there's this, I guess this is a newspaper in Jamaica called The Star. They always seem a little bit salacious in some of the stuff that they cover. But I do get some alerts, and one of them that I read that's so interesting. We need to restart our advice column. Like we need to start, you guys write in and we give you advice on what to do, because I would love to be able to give y'all some advice on these life things. Like, seriously? But listen to this one. I wanted to read this one. This is from July 4th. So this was yesterday. Because to me, this is next level crazy. So here, this situation, kind of in line with relationships and madness, right? Making poor decisions. This one says, Dear Pastor, I'm writing to you with tears in my eyes. Poor ting. I don't know what to do. I'm 25 years old and the mother of 2 children. Well, that might be your first problem, but let's continue. I've been struggling with them. The father tries his best. He does small scale farming in the country. He gives me whatever he can, and I respect him. All right. A couple of months ago, one of my cousins came to the house to visit me. I was glad to see him. He's one of the cousins I always liked. He sends me money from time to time. I wonder if that's why she likes him, because he sends her money. Anywho, he once told me that if we were not cousins, he would marry me. Lord Jesus. Here we go, folks. Dun, dun, dun. Woo! Honey child. Stay tuned. To tell you the truth, I told him I would marry him too. We laughed about it and left it there. He does not have children. He lives in America. He told me that he does not want to marry an American because he likes his Jamaican food. That what he telling you, honey child? Lies. Anywho, I went to the USA to visit another family member. My cousin came and picked me up and took me shopping. I bought stuff for my children and their father. We had dinner and he left. He told me that he'd come back to see me, and he did. I could not get my cousin out of my mind. Rotted. So I called him and asked him, why was he taking so long to come back to see me? Jezebel. He said he had to work and that he would be off on a particular day. When he came back to see me, he asked me if I would love to have anything more from the store. I told him what I wanted from him. He wouldn't give me. Here you know. He asked me what that was, and I told him that I was having sexual thoughts for him. Lord Jesus. He told me that Satan was talking to me, and I should remember that I have a man in Jamaica. Let me just pause there. Why didn't he say Satan's talking to you? Because we're cousins, we're family. Cousins don't do this kind of thing. Anyway, we'll come back to some of this here in a second. I felt ashamed when he said that to me. And he held me in his arms and kissed me and led me into his bedroom. Talking about Satan. And it happened. He lives alone. I spent hours with him. 2 days later, before I returned to Jamaica, I went back to his house and gave him a goodbye hug. And we had sex again. Lord Jesus. I am now crying because, hold on. Where's my dun, dun, dun? Do I have that on my thing? Hold on. I need a dun, dun, dun. Oh gosh, I don't even think I have one. Lord Jesus. I definitely need a, I need a dun, dun, dun. I need to add that to, because this is like one of those moments. I am now crying because, dun, 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 I am pregnant. Dun, dun, dun. What? And it's not from my children's father, because we have not made love for about a month. Lord Jesus. I am thinking of having an abortion. I told my cousin that I'm pregnant and I'm going to do an abortion. He said that I should do what I have to do, because the cousin don't care. He said he's sorry for what has happened. I did not know I could love my cousin so much. Jeez and peace. And I have always loved him. Confusion. Do you think I should really have an abortion, or dun, 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 tell my children's father that someone raped me and I did not report it? I would so much like to hear from you. Now, this woman ain't got no damn sense, but let's see what the pastor says. I'm going to tell you why I'm reading this to you, because I think the pastor gives her partially good advice and partially bad advice. All right. So he says, Dear F, she signed it F. I think you can imagine what the F stands for. That you have admitted that you have always liked your cousin and that he was always kind to you. He has sent you gifts and has assisted you with your children. He is a kind man, but you also say that your children's father has been trying his best to support his children. He is a good man. Your children's father trusts you. He allowed you to take a trip to the USA. First of all, what does that mean he allowed you to take a trip to the USA? The way that Caribbean people, this is Jamaica, the way that Caribbean people think, right? It's like men still own women and you're still their property. But anyway, he allowed you to take a trip. Okay. Because I mean, obviously he's our guardian, right? Okay. You used part of that trip to become sexually involved with your cousin. I have observed that you did not ask your cousin for sex. You offered it to him. That your cousin, sorry. I observed that he did not ask you for sex. You offered it to him. You wanted him to have sex with you. And I know that there are women like you who ask men to have sex with them. And if the man refuses to do so, they curse them and tell them perhaps they have gone the other side. I'm confused by why he interjected that in his advice. But anyway, Pastor seems to have a little issue with women, but let's move on. Your cousin reminded you that you have a man in Jamaica. Although you said you felt ashamed, you ended up in his bedroom and had sex with him. You did not have sex with him once, but you made sure that you returned, that before you returned home, you gave him a goodbye, in quotes. Now that you found yourself pregnant, you know who got you pregnant is surely not your children's father. Don't think of having an abortion. Have your baby. It would do no good to try to lie to your children's father about how you became pregnant. I know that you are in a difficult position, but I cannot advise you to have an abortion. Your cousin doesn't care what you do, whether you keep the pregnancy or abort it. At least this is what he says now. We'll take him at his word. Take him at his word, folks. Perhaps you may want to consider carrying the baby and giving it up for adoption. You will still have to decide how to tell your children's father who got you pregnant. I hope your children's father won't beat you. Listen to this. This is where my jaw dropped, my mouth opened up. I hope your children's father won't beat you up when he has come to realize that you are pregnant. Perhaps you should take the risk and tell him that you're pregnant. No one in the community has to know that he is not responsible for getting you pregnant. Both of you could keep this secret between yourselves. Now, y'all help me out here. Why is the pastor talking about the boyfriend beating her up? Have we normalized abuse to the point where it's like, oh, okay, you've done something. Obviously, it's a poor decision, folks. I mean, no one should be out there having sex with their cousins. Let me be very, very clear. This is ridiculous, right? I noticed the pastor hasn't focused on the familial relationship between the parties as much as he's like, okay, yes, you cheated on your husband. Now you're pregnant. Well, definitely don't have an abortion. And your husband, your baby daddy might beat you up. I was like, huh? What? Why is that part of the storyline in terms of his advice? I'm a little bit confused about why he said that. Almost as though he's saying that, well, if he beats you up, you deserve it because you've cheated on him and you've gotten pregnant. So you better hope he doesn't beat you up. I don't know, boy. There's something wrong with this. But again, I was very, very surprised that pastor never said, never focused on, because other people are reading this and they might be taking advice, never focused on why are you having feelings for your cousin? And why are you having sex with your cousin? Like, dude, that is just not, family is off limits, folks. I don't care what y'all think. And I know some of y'all like, oh, well, it's my second cousin. No, family is off limits. Okay. This sounds like a first cousin. You do not have relations or feelings for your first cousins. Now, I think that what happens with some people, especially with cousins, if you don't grow up with cousins and you're not around cousins, maybe you don't necessarily see them in a familiar way, and it's easy to get your feelings confused and mixed up. But this shouldn't even be debatable. Like, you should never look at a cousin of yours and think, oh, my cousin's cute. I could have feelings for them. No, honey, child. Pastor needed to really, focus on that a little bit more. But what should she do? Now she's pregnant with her cousin's baby. The other thing that the pastor didn't really think about is, what if this child comes out with deformities? Sometimes that happens when you're having babies by family members. That's why it's actually illegal in most places in the world. First cousins, it's illegal. Even in this jurisdiction, you can't be getting married to first cousins, and you're certainly not supposed to be having any children with them. As Morna says, it sounds like the royals. Oh, Lord. Well, historically, they've always kept it in the family. Not so much anymore. But yeah, so I mean, this could get even more complicated. I agree that it doesn't make any sense to lie, especially about something as serious as being raped or sexually assaulted. Plus, I don't know how smart the boyfriend is, but he might put 2 and 2 together in terms of the timing. So what would you do in a situation like this? It's a tough one. I got to be honest with you. Because is she really going to come forward and say that, oh, I got pregnant by my cousin? Because, of course, when she says she's pregnant, the boyfriend is going to want to know who you were screwing around with. Who's the other man? I mean, I think he has a right to know, doesn't he? Good morning, Miss Dorothy, watching from Florida. Dorothy says it's her mess. She must clean it up. Well, the question is, how is she going to clean it up? Perla says the community doesn't know their dirt. Wait till he find out. He will take the house, kids, and throw her out back to her cousin. Nasty. Well, it doesn't really sound like it doesn't really sound like the two of them are living in the same household, because she says he's in the country. Like, I don't know if he's out in the country farming and then he comes and visits her. Like, I'm not really sure of that part of the relationship. Ms. Darlene says, Sandy, I really can't see what the pastor said was wrong. He's telling the truth, in my opinion. Yeah, but I don't think that was necessary, talking about, oh, he might beat you up, because in my mind, by him saying that, it's almost like he's telling her, oh, expect it, because this is normal. When you cheat on someone, the thing that they're going to do is beat you up. So Marshall says the pastor's talking about her boyfriend beating her up. It's because that's what Jamaican men do. You see, that's what I think the pastor is saying, that, oh, it's normal if you do something that your boyfriend doesn't like, that the end result is going to be that he's going to beat you up. And I think that the pastor should have thought about that a little bit more and not put that in there, because you shouldn't be normalizing that kind of behavior, even if that happens a lot in Jamaica. I mean, it's the Caribbean. I think it happens a lot in the Caribbean and probably all over the world. But, you don't say that to a woman as though, oh, expect it, be ready for it, because that's not right. Like, nobody should beat her up, even in the worst of circumstances. Even though, yes, she cheated with the cousin, got pregnant, that does not warrant her getting beat up. And I mean, my mind then went to, well, if the boyfriend beats her up, she may not have a pregnancy after that, because she might end up losing the baby. Like, there's so many or he might end up killing her, right? There's so many implications. And I think that I think what she decides to do will really depend on, because there's some men who take this very, very seriously. You cheat on them, and it's almost like the pastor giving you an excuse to then be abusive towards this woman or to be violent towards her. And so I think that this woman should know her boyfriend's temperament and proceed with caution, because this is the kind of thing that unfortunately could very well put her life at risk. And I would have much rather pastor talked about that. Like, whatever decision you're going to make, even if he's saying that I can't advocate an abortion, because obviously he's a pastor, he can't say that in writing. Whatever decision you make, you've got to think about all parties involved. Number one, she can't afford another mouth. She's already struggling with 2 children. I mean, I can't believe that, number one, she'd have sex with her cousin. Number two, you wouldn't use protection. Ew. You don't know what your cousin been doing and who he's been doing it with. You don't know what STDs your cousin might have, right? And then you're so careless about it. No protection, no nothing. And then you get pregnant by your cousin. I don't know. But I think that the right advice is don't compound it with another lie. Like, I don't feel like that's going to help the situation, especially that, oh, you were sexually assaulted and didn't report it. Don't tell that lie. No sexual assault victim ever wants to hear someone claiming sexual assault or claiming rape when it never happened. So Ramsey says, because the pastor knew Jamaican men, they'll beat you to pieces. They'll beat a woman to pieces for those types of cheating and getting pregnant. I think that that's unfortunately very, very true. Siobhan says you shouldn't look at your brother like that either. I know a girl like that when I was in school. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, I don't know how y'all are raised and whatever, but families are off limits. You know what I'm saying? You should never even, but I'm very, very cautious because I've heard of this happening so many times. You know, even with my daughter, I want to make sure that she knows who her family members are. These are your cousins, and cousins you have boundaries with, right? You don't have certain feelings towards your cousins. And if you visit them in the summer, you don't think that they're more than anything. They're just a cousin. And I think you have to be very, very, child, you know me, I'll be watching situations like a hawk. You be very, very careful with children and teenagers and cousins. Take my word for it, people. A lot of this happens more so than you think. And so, yes, that's your cousin. Don't hug her too close. And listen, people be looking at me strange. And I don't care. That's the kind of parent I am. I'm like, hey, don't be hugging up on her. You're 12 years old. She's only 6. Don't hug her too tight. And then the little 12-year-old be looking at me like I'm weird. Don't look at me, son. I don't care what you think. I know things. Okay. So yeah, so don't be hugging her. You do a quick little hug, back away. Nope, you're not going and playing in a different room by yourselves. Oh no, I'm going to be right there playing along with you. Be very, very careful. I actually know a person who had, this is TMI, but I actually know a person who had relations with their cousin. They claimed that it was one-off, and I never saw that person the same ever again. It completely changed the dynamics of how I felt about them. And let's just say that it was an end to that relationship. It's just weird. But again, yeah, that's my cousin, but we didn't really grow up together. I don't care. That's your cousin. That's all I need to know. Story ends right there. Oh, yeah. Jonathan says, good morning to you, dear Sandy. It's been a while. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you. We don't promote violence. Exactly. And I feel like by the pastor even putting that seed in her head, it was kind of like, oh, expect that this is going to be the response. So you're going to get beaten up. Yes, Tracy Ann, the cousin is living in America. She needed to make better decisions, but it looks like, this may have never happened if she didn't kind of push it with the cousin. She offered up herself basically to the cousin, and that's a problem. So, but she sounds like she's in a desperate situation. She probably doesn't really talk to the cousin all that much. He takes her out shopping once, and all of a sudden she's talking about she's in love with her cousin. You don't even know your cousin. You don't know what kind of person your cousin is. He lives in America. What do you WhatsApp every once in a while? He says hello. You don't know what he's doing. You claim he doesn't have any children. He tells you he doesn't want an American woman. So it's almost like in her head, when she said that, I'm like, so what do you think? Your cousin's going to want to marry you? Like he's going to want to be in a real relationship with you? Woman, you're his cousin, regardless, right? And you already have 2 children that you should be focusing on. Whether he wants an American woman or not, any man will tell you all kind of foolishness when they're ready. So an American woman can learn to cook a little ackee, throw it together for you. Child, please. Leroy says he better stay there. Morning, Charlotte. KK says they both need a good, nastiness. Well, theoretically, they may need one, but in reality, nobody should be beating up anybody. Don't put your hands on people. Walk away and leave people and leave situations alone. Miss Dorothy says there's no easy way out, but she should make the cousin pay up. He should pay the price. What price would that be, though, Dorothy? The cousin never wanted a relationship with her. And in fact, when she first approached him, although he then led her to the bedroom, did the cousin not say, oh, the devil has gotten into you, Satan has gotten into you? The thing he should have done right there, if he was a good cousin, or even just a good person, a good man, is he should have said, absolutely not. This is inappropriate. Somebody needed to have restraint in this situation. And unfortunately, neither cousins did. Now, you think, let me understand this, Dorothy. You think the better situation is she should have this baby and expect the cousin to pay to support this child? Oh my God. The dynamics of that in the family are going to be crazy. Make her have the baby, but give it up for adoption. There is no way in God's green earth in my opinion, that she should keep this baby, expect the cousin's going to hate her, expect the cousin to then want to have a relationship with that child, which would be his cousin and his daughter at the same time. Lord Jesus, y'all listen to me. This is a hot mess. Wow. And now he's going to be forced to, let me make it very clear. When it comes to finances, when you travel, you go visit your cousin. Yeah, he can take you to the mall for 1 or 2 trips and spend a couple dollars on you, or take you to Walmart. You think that spending money on you every single month for child support is going to make him happy, and he's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm working in America to support this child? That's a different situation than a little trip where he hasn't seen you in 10 years and he takes you to Walmart and gives you a couple dollars to buy something for your kids. She's going to get a real reality check. Miss Darlene says, I feel like she was reckless, and in fact, she wanted it. Remember, the first part of the story was he lives in America. Plan blank. Plain blank or plan blank? Yes, and I think some of the things that she said when I was reading it, including that, really, really stood out. And that's concerning. But she also talked about the fact that she has 2 children and that she's struggling with them. So this woman just not thinking straight at all. 25 years old, really, really stupid. Good morning, Jim. Jim says, any so-called man that put his hand on a woman is no man at all. Couldn't agree with you more. And I don't care geographically what area he comes from. That's true, Jim. Good morning to Miss Barbara. Hello, Marilyn in America. She says, is the story even true? Often these columns create fake stories for entertainment only. Well, I tell you what, I don't know much about the Star. You know, I feel like it is a little bit of a salacious publication, but I do believe that these stories are true because I've heard of stories like this, like in real life. And, you know, this isn't really all that far-fetched. These things happen every single day, Marilyn. Yeah, it's not that. I mean, I hope to God it's not common, but I wouldn't say that it's impossible. Miss Morna says, that's true, Sandy. We have so many families that we know nothing about. The men was like that for years, leaving children all over the place. And don't talk about men going to sea, just saying. Well, I mean, it's one thing if you don't know that that person's family. But once you know, you've got to grow up and you've got to raise your children to understand. You don't look at your cousin any kind of way like that. They're a cousin. That's not natural. John says, cousins make dozens. They never thought about that. Oh, Lord, have mercy. So I feel sorry for her. I don't know what she's going to do, but that's a messed up situation. Oh, Lord Jesus. Here, Andy, now. They say cousin and cousin boil good soup. Now the soup will bubble and almost finished, but only her one going to be drinking it. That's so disgusting. Ew. So the children would call him father and uncle. I know of a family like that here in Cayman. They're siblings and first cousins because the mother was playing around with an uncle and his nephew and had multiple children by each. Really kind of weird. And some women don't have at least they weren't family to her, thank God. But she was messing with in the same family. So now the children are interconnected. And listen, Caymanians would know. When somebody says, oh, that's my double first cousin or whatever, I'm like, your double first cousin? Let my brain figure that one out. That means that they're first cousins on both sides? How is that possible? Y'all do the math. Diamond Princess says, I blame her as the woman. She should know that all men see as sex. When they look at a woman, she should not have opened her legs to him. Family is family, no matter what or how far apart the cousin is. And I agree, but it wasn't even him that was looking at her. I think that she is the instigator and she was looking at him, but he should have stopped it. I don't know how old the cousin is, but he should have said, no, thanks. This is just wrong on all levels. Now look at the situation that they're in. Hot mess. Good morning, Strong. Wilt says, good morning, Sandy. I love your talk. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're using our backup camera because the other one isn't working. It isn't plugged in. So I may not look as good as I normally do. I'm just saying. So Andine says, so Sandy, you're saying it's best for her to have an abortion. Are you supporting abortions? Andine, you got to pay attention now. We're in the classroom. Are you sitting? Because you can't be sitting in the front of the classroom. I never said it's best for her to have an abortion. I said she's going to have to put that child up for adoption. But let me be very clear on this. Because I know a lot of people listen to me and they might want to know, well, what's your position on this and that? And y'all be trying to like pressure me into, oh, well, you have to have this opinion on abortions or this opinion on the LGBT community. Oh, Sandy likes them too much. Let me tell y'all something. Listen to my words very, very carefully, because I ain't cutting no beef here today. I'm going to give it to you straight, as I always do. I'm entitled to my opinions and my feelings. I don't care what y'all think, quite frankly, right? When it comes to abortions, this has always been my position. That is a matter for a woman. It is her body. Just like women who want to get their tubes tied, that is their body. And if they want to get a tubal ligation, knock yourself out, that is for you. I personally would never want to be in a position where I would need to get an abortion. Sometimes they are medically necessary, and there are other reasons why you will need to have one in your life. I think the choice should be left to the woman and her physician. That is a matter for them to discuss all of the ins and outs of it. So I'm not anti-abortion or anti-choice. The choice should be left with the person whose body it is. Let me be very, very clear. That does not mean that I advocate people going out there getting pregnant willy-nilly and just having abortions because they feel like, it's a morning after pill and they can do that. But that's their choice. That's their body. And whatever their belief system is, they're going to have to live with that, not me. I'm not here to impose my personal beliefs on somebody else about what they should do with their body. That's on them. So if you don't like it and you think, well, that means that Sandy's is pro-abortion, I honestly don't care. I'm pro-choice, and being pro-choice doesn't mean that you have to be pro-abortion. The better thing to do is try to avoid situations like this. We live in a day and age, folks, where birth control is readily available, right? This is where you ought to be talking to your children. They work 99.9999999% effective. Okay? Don't be out there not talking to your children about these things, about how they can be safe, because they're going to be out there having sexual relations. So I'm also not out there preaching abstinence because take a look around. Clearly it ain't working. It's ideal. I don't think any teenager should be having sex. Young adults, wait. It's a very complicated situation. You can see even for big women, the sergeant got herself in trouble over a little sweetness. You know what I'm saying? It's better if you wait. You're a little bit more settled, whatever. But listen, if you can't wait, then we need to have a discussion about educating yourselves, making sure that you're safe, that you understand the implications of this, what this means, et cetera, et cetera. So, Andine, that's my response. Take it or leave it. Cara says, so what's wrong with abortions? Oh, Lord, have mercy. But why bring kids to suffer, says Vanessa. It's an unfortunate situation, but those kids will suffer. The existing children will suffer, and the new one will suffer too. I was watching something the other day. I'm going to bring this up as another discussion, but children who are put in foster care, there's some statistic about the abuse, their chances of getting abused. It is astronomical. I'll try to find it. I'm trying to remember where. Some video I was watching the other day and they had it in there. Oh my God, it's shocking. When you hear about the numbers, you would never put a child in foster care or the foster care system if you knew what you were about to do to them. That's how bad it is. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Not bad, dear. How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm sending a picture earlier on with a video circling with yesterday incident happened by the farmers market. You saw it?
No, I saw that you were messaging, but to be honest, I was trying to get ready for the show. So tell me what's in the video.
All right, I went to the farmers market yesterday to purchase something. Mm-hmm. However, when I get out the truck, my wallet dropped out right at the side of the truck. If you look at the video I sent you, you can see it. You can see it. So actually, but the person was standing there and he was looking. He saw that my wallet drop out my pocket, and what happened? He don't say, okay, mister, whatever, your wallet drop out your pocket. What he did is he started to pre me and look around, and then if you look at the videos, you don't see every whole footage of the video, but what I saw there when we were trying to run the videos, yeah, he looking and stand up and notice and see if I'm looking at him. So when he see that I'm not focusing on, and yeah, he
so you're asking us to help identify this man.
He identified this man, yes. So,
all right, we'll have a look at the video. Not a problem.
All right.
Okay.
Do that and call me. So say you're gonna contact me back. I send you my numbers and everything. So if you want, you can contact me back. All right.
All right. No problem. Thanks very much.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. So, folks, if you were at the farmer's market yesterday and you picked up a man's wallet, sounds like you had intentions. Please return this gentleman's wallet. My goodness, I can't believe y'all would do that. Then again, yes, I can. Okay, let's read some WhatsApp comments on this story. This person says that her cousin was grooming her. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, they're both adults. So I think maybe the cousin played her a little bit, though. I mean, I could see how maybe that was possible. I'm not quite sure I would use the term grooming, but he was more than willing to take advantage of the situation. Even his comments about, oh, Satan's talking to you and then taking you straight to the bedroom. It's like, come on, dude, are you serious? Another person says, Cayman has a unique disease because of family having children with family. It's called Cayman ataxia, and it's mostly found in West Bay. Yes, and in common languages, we call it the Cayman disease, I think is what it's called as well. Now, to the best of, it's a mutation, a genetic mutation that's unique to the Cayman Islands. And it includes severe, I think it can vary, but everything from a form of retardation, cerebral dysfunction, tremors, all sorts of stuff. So basically, in layman's term, the child has disabilities, right? So listen to this. Isn't this interesting? This is a study on this. It says, although the disorder was initially believed to be restricted to an isolated region of Grand Cayman Island, that's 1996 and 2003 research, one Pakistani family with the disorder and an ATK mutation has been reported, thus expanding the ethnic distribution. Isn't this interesting? So we've always known and we've always said that this was unique to Cayman, but lo and behold, of all the billions of people in the world, they have found one Pakistani family, that actually had the same disorder. Wow, that's kind of random and weird. So it's an what do they call it? Autosomal recessive inheritance. Ugh, what a hot mess. But I think that in Cayman, we only have one or two people that remain with it. And so that the idea is once those individuals die out, I'm sure the gene is still dormant in other places. This person says, person is pretty much living like a vegetable. Everything has to be done for them. And once this person or these individuals die out, then presumably the gene will be dormant unless you start sleeping with family again. And this is why you don't sleep with your family members, okay? This person says, morning, Sandra. On that note, I want to ask you, if you were dating a man whom you didn't know was already with another woman, would you just break it off with the man and leave it alone, or break it off with the man and tell the main woman? Asking because I have a conversation with a friend about this and just want to know your views. Start with my question for the advice column. Woo, this is tough. And in fact, there's been someone who's been messaging me. Listen to this. Someone has been messaging me from the UK who wants to come on the program and expose a cheater here in the Cayman Islands. Now, I'm a little bit confused about who she is in relation to the cheating, because it doesn't seem like she's the other woman or anything, but she's like the mother-in-law or something of the other woman. It's like really weird. Like I'm still trying to, they sent it to me and I'm reading it going, I'm confused. I don't understand how you're connected to this and why you really care. Some people just want the other woman to know, want the woman, the wife or whatever to know. And I'm like, okay, but why do you want her to know? Why do you care if she knows the truth? So it's a little bit weird, right? Now, this is interesting. So you're dating a guy who you didn't know already had a woman. Well, I think the two of you need to sit down and have a conversation. Because in this day and age, people have different definitions of dating. So if you're not exclusive, right? So how far are you down the rabbit hole? If you've been dating for a year and he's been in a relationship with somebody else, and that's a different situation. But if you just started dating, and this is why, folks, I'm a little bit old-fashioned. Take your time. If you're serious about somebody, you ain't got to jump in the sheets with them right away. Take your time and get to know situations, get to know people. Okay? So if he's just taking you out a couple dinners, movies, whatever, you're dating and you find out about another woman, then you say, okay, what is this? You know, is this other woman, is this who you're exclusive with? What's going on? And then hopefully he's mature enough to have a conversation and tell you the truth. Yes, I'm dating this woman. I've been dating her for a while, but I'm breaking up. Then you need to break up, because that's how you get yourself in a whole mess of a situation. And then sometimes other people be blaming you that you're the other woman and you don't even know. Nobody told you that you were the other woman. So I think people just need to be honest. And if you move with honesty, right? Because there are people who believe in polygamous relationships. There are people, men and women, who don't mind sharing with other people. I'm telling y'all, this is God's truth. And so they don't necessarily, some of these men be like, oh, this takes the pressure off of me. She got another woman to take her out some nights of the week. Another woman to buy her stuff. Like it's not all on me. You know, they don't mind. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that going on. Alejandro says you're not pro-abstinence. I am pro-abstinence, but I'm pro-real world. Okay? I know abstinence actually doesn't work. I hate to tell you all this, but it really doesn't. Going to church and telling your teens don't do it is not enough. That's what I'm saying. Y'all have to have real conversations about the seriousness of, of what's going on. Strong Will says, Sandy, a stiff, you know what, has no control. She should know better. The problem is on her. Oh my God. Y'all always blaming the women, though. Come on now. It takes two to tango. Granny always say, a stiff, you know what, has no conscience, says Sophia. Granny was right, but I'm just saying. It says, I was in foster care back in the early 2000s. Let me hear what you think about that. Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Alejandro, but I know that the foster care system, not specific to Cayman, but all over the world, is just, oh my God. It's like the last place in the world that you want children to end up. The chances of them being abused is so high. Oh, it's such a sad, sad situation. And, a lot of the people who are anti-abortionists, they're very, very staunch in their position. They're the same people who would never, we come from good homes, whatever, but they would never adopt a child. They would never foster a child. And to me, that's so wrong. I'm like, listen, you're entitled to your views. If you want to be anti-abortionist, that's fine. But tell me, how are you helping the social issues with all these unwanted children? Are you giving teenage girls access to free sex education and free birth control, making sure that that's readily available for everyone, right? In our schools here in Cayman, we should have sex education. Young girls should have the option of being able to speak to a counselor about birth control options. Hopefully they have a parent that they can, because that should be the primary person that you're having this conversation with, a parent that can help them with those types of decisions as well, because these are very mature decisions for teenagers to be trained to navigate and trained to engage in. But you've got to be talking to your children. Alejandro, Cara says, and I'm getting in trouble again with Sandy. Alejandro says the only thing unique in the island is CMR. No, honey child, lots of unique stuff here. First lady, reminder, be nice now. Yeah, y'all don't get no side bad conversations. Bring him on, says Leroy. Someone needs counseling beforehand. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with getting counseling. Perla says, I'll investigate that man first and his background. First, if he's my family, got a baby mama drama or wife. If so, you got to go and get blocked. Morning to Johan. Dean says, in the US and Canada, you have a legal right to marry your own family, brother and sister included. When did that law change? Because that was never the case. So it's called, oh God. In law, it's called, there's a specific term for it, congruence or something. Oh Lord, we have it. Consanguinity is the term. So that's marriage between first cousins, siblings, aunts and uncles, and obviously parents. So in this jurisdiction, it's a blood relation. It's definitely illegal. And I think that in most jurisdictions, it remains illegal up to a point. So I'd have to see if it's changed in the US, but I'm pretty sure that most jurisdictions, it's just frowned upon for so many reasons. But some of y'all be really into it, to be honest. Ugh. I'd have to look it up. Okay, so this is as of 2021. I found an article here. Popular Science says that, let me see here. In 24 states, they still ban marriages between first cousins, while 20 states allow it. The others allow first cousins to couple up, but only under certain circumstances, including if they're both over 50 or 55 or 65. So in other words, no possibility of children there. Only if one or both are permanently infertile, and only if the couple has received genetic counseling. Okay. Even in states where it's legal, the practice is still considered very taboo. So first cousins share 12.5% of your DNA. And so I guess maybe that's not biologically enough to oftentimes cause any problems, but still, ew. So this is actually a very interesting article in Popular Science. Y'all need to read this. It's quite interesting. The headline says, go ahead, marry your cousin. It's not that bad for your future kids. Just don't turn it into a family tradition. No. So did y'all know that Albert Einstein and his second wife was his first cousin? Whoa. Elsa Einstein took family marriage to a new level. They're related through both the maternal and paternal lineages. Their mothers were sisters and their fathers were first cousins. What? Albert Einstein and his second wife? For such a smart guy, he married a double cousin? No, sir. Anyway, yeah, I can't. No, sir. I think this family affair started in Mexico. Mexico? What does Mexico have to do with anything? Grown people make these choices and have to live with the consequences and drama. It ain't CMR's business, says Johan. Well, people are asking and we're having a discussion. Why does Johan always have to come and disrupt class? Johan, I need to find a cow card for you. I wonder if Ozzy can help me. Ozzy, where can I get a cow card, please? All right, let's move on. Interesting discussion. Thank you, Damien. Yes, I was trying to remember it from law school because it did come up in law school because you can't actually, it's still the law in the Cayman Islands, trust me. Definitely not first cousins. I think it's first cousins, siblings, parents. And I can't remember who else is included in the group. Even, listen, you should not even be marrying a step sibling. Jim says hillbilly activity, right? You shouldn't be marrying step sisters and brothers, although technically they're not genetically connected. If you grew up with someone seeing them as a sibling, why would you have that kind of attraction? To me, it's just bizarre and weird. Ugh. Yeah, I'm with you, Morna. I'm just not. That's just nasty. No, sir. All right. Thank you, Miss Olivia. She says, check the penal code, section 146. Good on you. Makes it a criminal offense. And incest, which I think incest is incest just between parents and a child? Or incest considered siblings as well? But that's like the immediate family. Yes, that is definitely against the law. Yes? Sure. All right. Thanks for the question, though. Yeah, but my question was more, should you insert yourself with the other woman or just keep silent? Just break it off and go about your business. So do you tell the other woman? But why would you do that? I think that the thing about it is, I don't know. I feel like you have to be, I'm gonna sit on this one and think about it. Because I don't think you ever need to have a conversation with the other person. Because you don't know what he is telling her, just like what he's telling you may or may not be the truth. So why have a conversation with the other person? Like, women like to try to beat each other up and blame the other woman. Don't blame the other woman, because the other woman has nothing to do with, you don't know what she knows, what she doesn't know, what she's being told. He said, she said. It gets a little bit too confusing. This person says there's been sex education or schools for decades. Well, I beg to differ from what I'm hearing. All right, let's finish up with some comments. What? This person says, ladies, go to Cuba to find a doctor. They're waiting for you. Don't settle for Honda loving boy who only love their car. Oh, this person is advocating for some Cuban doctors, apparently. Good men are like parking spaces, hard to find or already taken, says this man. Yes, sir. Okay. Let's talk about the Cubans for a minute. Yesterday, they were really getting me up in my feelings, honey child. That one Javier and his ungratefulness and his stinking attitude, attacking Caymanians. And I don't know why our government sits down and continues to let it happen. But did you guys see the story that we posted? Now, apparently some of them have made it to La Ceiba, Honduras. And they're claiming, boy, they can lie. I'm sorry, but they're a bunch of liars. How they come to Cayman and we're mistreating them and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So somebody messaged me this morning. She's from Honduras. And she said, but Sandy, how these Cuban people can lie so much? I said, well, I can't really answer that question. But she says, bunch of liars, Raziel, who is the one speaking on camera, and them, they've been here from before COVID. They came here with the first batch that left and went on to Mexico that time in the stolen boat. So apparently he's making it sound like he just, I guess, came to Cayman more recently. I can't even with them. They just, making up stories, trying to make Cayman look bad. But like I said, if we're so horrible and we're so bad, what you doing here? Don't stop. Okay? Just make the waves keep taking you out to sea. That would be best. Okay, let's move on. Because they be getting on my nerves, honey chill. Mm-hmm. All right, let me see what else we got. Give me 1 second here now, honey. Chill. Oh, there was something I was going to tell y'all. Now, trying to find, okay. So let me just have a quick look here. All right. We have a situation that is very, very concerning that is happening on the Newlands bypass. Morning, caller.
Morning. What you say? Move on.
Yeah, honey, child.
No. I can't. You see me last night. I kind of watched a little bit of that episode, and I
yesterday?
still not on. Yeah, I still not understand it. That means I gotta go next door and say nice to people, because okay, so I was making an effort. I still can't understand all that is the nuances, because it's not something you're gonna walk over. I need to hear really out of that I got last night that the government needs to tell us something. I'm not one of them that believes that the transparency from government is a real thing. They might even campaign to get in office on that. I want us all to know that no government can be transparent. No government should. We shouldn't want our government to be transparent, because it's not possible in reality. But with this one, I need to hear some little thing what going on. And what I'm hearing about now is all the rest of these going from here to countries and just labbering their mouth and telling lies. I would make it double hard for the rest to come and stay. I can tell you what a Caymanian man of fortitude and merit told me many years ago, is that when they come in the morning, in his day, the people of his day would do the best that they could for them and get them out there from tide flow in the evening. And if they came in the evening, it would be reverse, get them out of here by tide flow the next morning. He said they would give them fuel if they had enough to spare, because back in them days, it wasn't much, but as much as they could spare, they would give them fuel, they would give them food. If there were medical conditions aboard, they would try to see what they could do to help them, but they would get them out of here. I don't know how we can expedite that nowadays, the international conventions and all that kind of stuff that you have to sign on to. And some seems very civilized, and we should. But this is more than. And for a person like you to say, I wash my hands of this, that's what I get out of it. I wash my hands of this situation. It's horrible.
Well, I tell you what, I felt like yesterday, I talked about it quite a bit yesterday, and I've said what I've had to say from yesterday. So my position is very, 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 very strong on it. And yes, the government, I think, needs to start taking a different approach. I noticed that they have been, in all fairness to them, they have been expediting their departure from this island. So I think it was last week or week before, they took more of them off island. And I think they need to continue to expedite that, and they should all be gone. But I do know their hands are tied because of, as you say, international treaties that are in place that we have signed up to because of our connection with the United Kingdom. And so, we have to treat them humanely once they're here. I just don't want them to come here at all. So I want to get the message straight across the airwaves between Cayman and Cuba. Do not come to the Cayman Islands. This is not the jurisdiction for you. Simple as that. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but if your feelings are hurt, too bad, too sad, let's just keep it moving. So my position is crystal clear. Trust me, Miss Charlene. It is crystal clear. But at the same time, we have a lot of topics that we want to discuss. So I didn't want to spend a second day talking about Cubans, if you know what I mean.
I want the class to get, this is like a solid in America. Come on. The rest of us don't understand what that means, but that means that's a subject to take every day. We need to take a little bit this is just me. this is your show, but I would need some of this like a solid Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh, geez,
and then you go home to take. Yeah, you take the weekend break.
Denny's calling. Hold on. Say good morning to Denny. Miss Charlene, say good morning to Denny.
Buenos dias.
Miss Charlene, Denny can hear you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was actually enjoyed listening to you. And you prompted me to call in.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So I'll hang up now.
Okay. All right, Denny.
Sandra, why don't they, if they don't like the environment that they're in?
Hold on. We got a lot of feedback. Okay. Hello? Yeah, there we go. We got a lot of feedback, I think, from Miss Charlene's phone.
Yeah. If they are so unhappy with their country, why don't they change it?
I guess it's easier said than done, huh?
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm not here to solve Cuba's problems.
No, but talking about what is actually happening is that they're ignoring their problem and then they're causing problems for us.
Well, I mean that's the way of the world when you think about it. Most people would rather run than stay and fight.
Well, then let's encourage them to do what they need to do instead of.
Of course, but that don't mean that they're gonna listen to us. And
that's fine.
It's kind of like Haiti, right? Their problems are probably very complex.
I know, but when I say let's encourage them, I don't mean by just talking to them. I mean by having policies that make Cayman unfavorable. Because what you're doing by allowing them to come here and stay here is you're actually importing communism. When you talk about a threat to a civilized society, communism is it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are people who believe in socialist ideas. Well, socialism is communism for those who are slow. Okay? But it takes you down a path of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And no, don't believe them. It never worked in the past. And no, they never got it worked out so that it'll work this time. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand this. If you bring people into your country that think communist, meaning the government is supposed to take care of you, because there's two ways in which you can enslave people. You can either work them and not pay them, or you can pay them and they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still slavery. Right? And there is a group of people who would prosper in society when they have that kind of environment going on. They benefit from it
mm-hmm.
for a period of time, but it will collapse because it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what I'm saying is I know that we can't do anything about what Cuba does or whatever, but we can have a policy that as soon as they land here, we put them back in the plane and take them back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've spoken to, I think it was Mr. Manderson on the show about the logistics of this, and they say that, or I can't remember if it was him or Charles Clifford, but they say that that's the goal, but it's not quite as simple and easy as you think, because they have to work with the Cuban government in order to send them back. You can't just put them in a plane and, the Cuban government is necessarily going to take them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, just don't let them hang around here for years and years, and
or quite frankly, even months. I mean, I think it's too long. You know? But the other thing, let me make a suggestion to CIG, because perhaps they're listening to the program, as they often are. One of the other things that would make more sense is to do a public campaign where you advertise on Cuban radio stations. Now, this might seem a bit drastic, but listen to me. Advertise on Cuban radio stations and let people know that you cannot come to the Cayman Islands because you'll be returned to Cuba. There's no other options really here available to you. And that this path to political asylum is a difficult path. Every single Cuban national should know don't come to the Cayman Islands, right? We're not all that welcoming.
Illegally.
Yes, illegally. That's right. Because I don't know if you guys recall this story, but a couple months ago, somebody who claims to be a doctor in Cuba was reaching out to me saying that they heard that there was this policy changed that allowed Cubans to just get on a boat and come here and be able to come here and work. And I was like, what? I'm like, are you really a doctor? Because this don't even make sense. They're like, yeah, this was a policy change. I mean, their English seemed good enough. Actually, maybe they were speaking to me in Spanish and I was translating it. I can't remember. But, you know, they were like, oh, no, they've been told that this is a policy change. So the fact that people in Cuba are misinforming people, which could be a scam, I don't know exactly how it's being done, about what their prospects are coming to Cayman and encouraging people to come here. There's human trafficking that's occurring between Cuba and the Cayman Islands. That needs to be taken very, very seriously.
Yeah.
And we should be sending the message to the Cuban people on their airwaves loud and clear that this is illegal, unlawful, and you're only going to come and have to stay in custody, be processed, and sent back to your country. There's no dry foot, wet foot foolishness here in the Cayman Islands. So don't even try it. Stay right where you are.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah. So why aren't we advertising over there and making it known? Take out, you know, publications and on the newspapers and the radios, on social media. There's a lot of
because you're not in charge of information.
Well, I mean, Miss Charlene, that's you again.
All right, later.
All righty.
Bye.
Miss Charlene?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just wondering out loud, all of these seemingly on the strength of it, good suggestions, you know, between you and Mr. D.W. Jr. I wonder how ferociously, and I use that word knowing exactly what what it means. Does our government negotiate in, you know, the negotiations going on for the treaty signing and all that? How do they negotiate? How strongly do they negotiate for just simple things that would make our position easier? You know you're going to have to go through it, you know, whether it's a few times or many times, but you know it's part and parcel of who we are and where we are located. In terms of, you know, to Cuba, and how do they negotiate for things like this? And I don't mean just with the refugee situation, but across the board. How do they negotiate? Because it seems like to me, like, okay, we can't send them back. We don't have a, you know, strong force of anything. But then give me a window that I can work with, and it's not 4 weeks. We need to they need to, like you say, they need to understand that this is going to be expedited. It's a couple of days, and you're right back where you started.
Yeah. You see,
and you know, it took 2 years to prepare.
Yeah, the problem is because we're relying on the Cuban government to accept these people back. Sometimes they come here without passports, we have to verify who they are, believe it or not, or the Cuban government has to verify who they are. And that's not always easy to do. They could be traveling on fake passports because some of them are straight up criminals. Right?
Exactly.
And so, you know, the Cuban government isn't going to just take people back, assuming that they're Cubans, just because they say that they're Cubans, or some of them won't even say that they're. So I get it that there are some logistical elements to the process. How well do we negotiate? Well, historically, we have failed at negotiations when it comes to our dealings with other countries. Take Jamaica, for example. Cayman has bowed down to Jamaica after we put the visa system in place, and we allow, and I don't necessarily say there's anything wrong with this, we allow, you know, elderly people and children to come without the visa requirement, but Jamaica hasn't reciprocated. I would have never made that policy change as a government unless Jamaica was willing to reciprocate. And then look at our MPs, right? Their favorite place, some of them, is running up in Jamaica behind every 2 minutes. And they've never thought to Chris Saunders, big PNP or JLP, whatever they call themselves, supporters, he's never thought to say to them, okay, I'm supposed to be a Caymanian first and foremost, not a Jamaican first and foremost. So let's talk. Let's put this on the negotiation table. Why are Caymanian children who have to go to Jamaica to get US visas, whatever, why do they require a Jamaican visa? We've lifted it for some of your people. And let's be honest, our children are less likely to be criminals going in that direction than what we're bringing in. Right? So there has to be better negotiations, in my opinion, but they're not worried about that. They're trying to pretend like they're somebody when they go to Jamaica and all up in the prime minister's house and all up in his behind, kissing his rear end, trying to make friends. And I'm like, what is this really all about? Use that time to negotiate on behalf of your people.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought.
Well, all I can say is they're not doing a very good job of it, in my opinion. They can certainly prove me wrong, but I don't see the evidence of it.
Well, I'm much older than you. And I've been knocking about this long time. And I can't see where they can sit down at one table and come away with something that benefits me. I don't see it. I don't see it. You know, we had one or two politicians that had the audacity to used to have been said, you know, look here, I gotta go Georgetown tomorrow morning and I gotta tell my people something. Give me something to take back to my people. That one was Mr. Jim Borden. And they had one called another Borden, and I'm not gonna mention his name because the good man is still alive. But he had a saying that was like this. Well, we got to get a moratorium, Mr. Speaker, on the 7 Mile. And I think coupled with that was the idea, well, we got too much people from there to that one place now. We got too much people from that one place. And to young ears, that sounded like another moratorium. I don't really remember if he used to use the word moratorium in that. But it sounded like another moratorium on something else. We've got to find a way to keep our people safe. It's not everybody who comes here and grins in the politician's face, stick out the hand quick and hold one hand with the next hand and smile. I see that in Foster's one night that made me want to puke. Because that politician is somebody I know in a particular way. They never stretch out their hand to shake my hand yet. But the people from foreign were all over him. They were climbing over him like ants at red meat on the ground.
Hot mess.
And I don't know if they are, I mean, I don't know how they take that. I don't know. Because people from overseas come and clip around me in public. I wouldn't welcome that. Put it like that. I wouldn't welcome it. They could draw a number, come to my office, and I will see you. Don't come kicking around me in public.
At the very minimum, at least treat your people the same. You know what I'm saying? Or better. Your own people. You don't treat other people better. I mean that to me don't sound too righted.
But I seen that with my own 2 eyes, and my whole thought was,
you know,
does this man have an office to make an appointment?
Let me tell you something. Unfortunately, a lot of Caymanians don't know anything about self-love as individuals, as families, and as a country. It doesn't mean that you hate anybody else just because you love yourself more, you know. You got to prioritize yourself, prioritize your family, prioritize your country. Treat people fairly. Right? Respect people.
With respect. Respect.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going around hating on anyone. It means that no, I'm going to put policies in place for my people that are going to benefit my people. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, this.
But they're so confused about where their loyalties lie, and they're pandering to everybody. That you know how that goes.
Except they're very
well. They only pander to you when election time come around. That's why you need to wise up.
And hardly that. They don't need to do that. They have gerrymandered and jerry-rigged the system so that no matter how many Caymanians come out or no matter how many Caymanians stay home, it doesn't really matter. They're dollying on through. So whatever beat that is on the jukebox, they're dollying through because they have now achieved what I always knew they wanted to do. They don't need us. That's why they didn't respect us before. And my God, they dismiss us now and they don't even care because they know they don't need one Caymanian to come out. And if ever Caymanian needs to stay home for whatever reason, we can go ahead and do that too. And they have achieved that goal. But anyhow, the Cuban population, the Cuban population, and you know what I noticed yesterday? It wasn't one Spanish-speaking person, I would say a person that you would say, oh, that's a Cuban. I hear one or two people would be from Honduras, but not as many Cubans as we have done good for, because when they really fare off well, I'm just saying I hear this because I don't know. When it comes time for those low-cost housing to be built, they say they are big in the lottery, and they win big too. They don't just enter big; they win big. I hear from people, local people, Caymanians, and long-term Jamaicans, who are the bulk of people who are in that pool. Them Cubans fare well, and I'm glad this thing come up here so that I can remember to ask the government who they're looking housing for, and I need to also ask the government, and I don't mean just this one just gets here. I mean all the past governments, if they see the harm they have done by issuing these, what you want to call it now? I call it just Cayman status grants, yeah. And all that kind of stuff. I don't mean the 2003 one that was all a 5-minute deal. I mean even the process to get PR and all that. If they see the harm they have done to their own people, from inception, the foreigner has a better chance at achieving, and in particular when it comes to financial well-being and the financial uplift and everything, a foreigner can guarantee themselves that they are going to be looked after and looked at in a more favorable light than a generational Caymanian. I hope that the governments of the past can see how they have been instrumental in kicking their people down. And I hope that we all remember them by name. These people in power now, like I say, the government out front, the backbench, the opposition, and then plus them people in nowhere land, because I think the backbench and the people in nowhere land is two different classes of people. I hope they can see and apply more and search more for their people, because it's bad. Anyway, it sounds like people won't get it.
Yes, my dear. Thanks, my dear. We got another call on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good morning. Can we move on from this topic with the Cubans? Because if Caymanians don't go out and vote for the right MP, you will get bad MPs. So all of this issue has to do with Caymanians not going out to vote.
Not going out to vote, or going out to vote and electing the wrong people? Which one? Or both?
Well, if you stay at home as a Caymanian and the respective majority picks who they pick, well, who's to be blamed? If we don't go out and vote and choose the right person, we'll have the same issue going on.
All right. Thank you, my dear. Magdalene says, great points, Charlene. Alejandro says, importing third world, the Cayman Islands needs to have a requirement to the people that come here and work permits to pass a code of conduct or respect your judicial system, and like some agreement of understanding, so strict, tight choke hold, strict process. Well, I mean, the laws are there, and really it's a question of compliance with laws. How do you know that somebody is going to comply with a law until they break it? Sometimes. That's why we require a clean police record. And a lot of jurisdictions, you can pay for a clean police record. But that is supposed to be an indication of someone who is at least up to that point in their lives spent their lives crime-free, supposedly. So that's one way, I guess, that we try to do it. The vetting process, I think, needs to be a little bit more involved. Even Caymanians who are marrying some people to allow them to come here, the vetting process should be a little bit more involved. That's what I'm going to say on that. Okay, I guess we can move on. A couple other things that we want to talk about here this morning. So this person says, I have them message me while here asking me to help them with their applications. I know for a fact Mr. McKeeva is a leader in that case with Cubans receiving homes. I think Mr. Bush has McKeeva Bush, that is. We're going to talk about him a little bit later on the show. He has an interesting relationship with a lot of the Cuban community. He seems to be in with them quite well. And when they come to visit, they go to his place to have their meetings and that sort of thing. The Cuban government representatives. That's why the last time that they were protesting out by his house, because he's the one who gives them a venue and entertains them and rolls out the red carpet for them to be able to come here. And the Cuban people are saying they've been coming here for 15, 20 years. Mr. Bush has been assisting them, and they've never really helped the Cuban people, and they're part of the problem why Cuban people are having to run from Cuba. But yet our government rolls out the carpet when they come. It's interesting because, this last government, honestly, this current government, I should say, they were not even aware that these Cuban officials were coming, and they were asking, well, in what capacity is Mr. Bush entertaining them? Because he's not part of the government in that sense. That shouldn't be his job, but there you go. He's doing it anyway. All right. So we have a serious situation, folks, that is really very, very dangerous that's happening on the east-west arterial. So this is the Newlands bypass. Over the weekend, I had several people contact me, and I want to read their messages because this is very, very serious. This person says, good morning, Sandy. I was driving on the Newlands bypass around 5:15 this morning when I heard a loud bang. I slowed down but didn't stop. And when I reached a safe place, I checked and saw that someone had obviously thrown a stone at my car. I called the police, and they said that they've received a similar report happened in the same area yesterday. So this person has sent photos. Another person reached out and said, yes, Sandy, this is something that has happened to me. And so the police have not issued anything on this. And I just want to warn you all, my God, if this is happening, this is very, very serious. This is the type of situation that could cost somebody their life. So have a look at these photos. This is one vehicle that looks like more than one rock, honey child. That looks like a few thrown at them. So let me just show you the other one as well. Let's see here now. So, I'm shocked that people are not just having their vehicles damaged, and some of these vehicles are brand new, but in addition to that, they actually are in fear of, what is it that these people are trying to do? I'm not 100% sure. I'm like, are they trying to, cause injury just to the vehicle, and they somehow think that this is amusing, this is funny? Or is this a situation where they're trying to get people to stop? Because if you stop, then what are their intentions towards you? Are they trying to rob you? Like, what is it that they're actually trying to do? Well, I've reached out to the RCIPS for clarification and whether or not they've received any reports in relation to this. I mean, look at this. This is somebody's really nice car. And the police were like, oh, we need additional information. What period of time are you asking about? I'm like, really? Is this rock throwing incident so prolific that you need to narrow it down to a specific period of time? Have you received reports in the last week then? Here's another vehicle that sustained some damage. So I'm waiting for them to get back to me on this. But I think that if you have been impacted by this, you need to come forward. You need to make sure that you file a police report so that the police have a good idea of how prolific this problem is. Because this is horrible. Listen, you could throw a rock at somebody's car, break their windshield, that could hit someone, that could cause them to swerve off the road and end up in an accident, killing someone. So this is something that should be taken very, very seriously. And I feel like we had a rock throwing arrest. Let me try to look this one up, because I do feel like there was some sort of a rock throwing incident where, was it on the Newlands bypass? I feel like there was something before that was reported. Or did they not arrest anybody? I thought they had arrested someone for this. But, this is crazy. What's going on here? Anybody else experiencing damage to, and this is happening in the early morning hours. So the other person, let me just try to find the other message. The other person, let me see here now. They had mentioned as well, let me just find their message. They had mentioned also that their vehicle had sustained some damage. So let me just have a look and see if I can find this one. So this is pretty scary. I think that they likewise reported this to the RCIPS as well. So you've got to report it to the police. I would not recommend stopping when it happens, because someone suggested to me that it could be a situation where, these persons are making attempts to maybe get you to come out of your car with something else in mind. So yeah, don't come out the car, but get to a safe place and then report it from there. I'm just trying to find the other person who had messaged me about the rock throwing situation. All right, so I'll find their message. Let's see. Oh gosh, if you're listening to the program, just message me again, because I'm trying to find your initial message that you sent. So what a mess. All I can tell you folks is be very, very vigilant out there, and please, it's shocking. The RCIPS, I think, needs to do something a bit more about this. If they could even set up some, what would you call them now? Decoys. Send some unmarked cars, or go in your private cars. I mean, I don't really care. To go on the Newlands bypass at these early hours and see if you can't catch who's responsible for this. Is it, individuals just being idle? Is it a situation where someone is trying to do something a bit more nefarious? What is it? I would love to know. So I am hoping that we can get a bit more information on this, because like I said, it's actually very, 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 very dangerous. Absolutely shocking, actually, that this is happening. What a hot mess. For some reason, I'm trying to try to find the other message. Where is that other message? Oh my goodness, I can't find it. All right. Good morning, caller. Are you trying to call the program? I'm live on radio right now, though. Yes. Alrighty. Okay, my dear. Yes, honey child, it's not the time for a conversation outside of the radio. So yes, I have that one. Where is the other one? Oh gosh, I can't find that message right now. Oh, get so many WhatsApp messages, honey child. They be getting lost. Let me see if I can find it. I keep searching for like keywords I think the person had in there. But let me see. Yesterday. Okay. All right. So if I find it, I'll let you guys know. What else the person said? Oh yes, here it is. Found it. Very good. So this person says, "Hi, Miss Sandra. I was just seeing that someone posted the exact same thing that happened to me in the bypass. I also called the police, but that's the time they didn't have any complaints. But at the time, they didn't have any complaints about it. I was crossing the bypass on Saturday morning around 4 a.m. And we also heard a bang. We didn't stop and we just kept going. And then when we saw the car, it clearly must have been a rock. And this is the red photos now that were sent. This really sucks. Police said definitely scope out. The police should definitely scope out the area one morning to see what is going on or who in their right mind is doing this. It's my new car. I just got it in February, but I'm just happy that the passenger I had in the back did not get hit." So again, this was 4 o'clock in the morning. They went on to say, "We can't even get out anymore to enjoy ourselves because people do stupid things out there in the clubs. And now we can't even come home peacefully because we're going to get a rock thrown at us through our window." So very, very unfortunate situation. But yes, I think the police need to prioritize this and try to get out there. So where on the arterial is this, says Gareth? Let me see. Let me see. I mean, it has to be somebody that can probably stay close enough to the side of the road and do this. Alejandro is wondering if it's idle hands that have nothing else to do. At 4 o'clock in the morning, could this be kids? Like you parents, your kids not sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you today?
Not bad. How are you?
Not too bad either. I keep wondering, hearing all of this, I keep wondering, well, where's the cameras that we spent so
millions.
Millions.
Yes.
But the next time we hear any government, which I know who was, or it was talked who was a part of getting these cameras that don't work, because you never see anybody up on these poles like doing maintenance on these things. We should stick against it. I mean, we should really rebel against it because they're not working. They're not working. Some people got rich off of it, and it was another government that did it. So I hope I don't hear anything about this government doing so. And some of the police, we can't class everyone alike, like I keep saying, but they're not doing their job. They're driving around in air-conditioned cars. Then if we should see the person that did it, and we can catch them, and we should slap the devil out of them, then, oh yes, they can put us in jail, they can do this, but something like that I wouldn't mind going to jail for, because then they wouldn't do it again to another car or another person, in case that person gets seriously hit.
Exactly.
It can cause all kinds of problems. It could cause accidents. It could cause anything. But anyway, Sandra, we'll keep talking, and you keep up your good works. And I'm glad to know that we talk about these things, or you bring these things up. And one more, and then I can let you go. I would like to know that one of your talk shows is about family and the way that families are now treated and the way that we're conducting ourselves towards our families, because we call ourselves a Christian society, and families are ignoring the sick in their family, they're ignoring the elderly in their family, and to heck with it, let government take care of it. I would love to have that show going on, but I can't tell you what to do with your shows, but I would love to hear, because nobody seemed to be touching on that subject at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my dear. I appreciate it.
Thank you too, ma'am. Thank you.
We've got a few comments here. Of course, call in 936-2626. Siobhan says, if it's idle hands, give them 1,000 hours community service. This is more than idle hands, honey child. Community service would be the least of their worries. They should be going straight to jail. So Damien says someone could get out of control and this could cause an accident. Yes, this is very dangerous. And I've heard of these things happening before, rocks being thrown at people and their windshield and so forth. And it has killed people in the US when it's been done. So don't underestimate what can happen by throwing obstacles at somebody's car. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, morning, son.
Morning.
See, I'm wondering if the government waiting for the people of the Cayman Islands do the same thing like what United States doing and want to defund the police. Because I mean, I guess propaganda is their biggest thing.
Yeah.
They want something to be talked about, but
we don't fund the police in the same way, so I guess it's
no. But this is the thing. No such thing. You understand what I'm saying? But our Royal Police Service that we have here, it's not all of them, but the ones that are out duty that's supposed to be enforcing the law and making sure that they deter crime. Because it's not like we're promoting crime. The police is there to deter the crime, right? And if they don't do their job and staying in visibility, like how they have these lights now that's supposed to be showing around the place, they're starting to turn them off for whatever reason. A lot of them are turning them off for whatever reason, or they're staking out for crime, or they're trying to prevent crime. This is the thing. It's almost as if you're trying to get a rat out of the house. Are you going to try to trap it, or are you going to try to get it out? You know, like what is going on? So much things could be done. To see the idleness, loitering, and all those type of things. I mean, I thought that was illegal to loiter around a store, but maybe in Cayman it's under the discretion of the officer. Again, they use that a lot here in Cayman. Yeah, discretions. I mean, nothing wrong, but when you see things that are suspicious, and you can speculate that the type of thing that you won't have in the public is a danger to society, or it might just provoke somebody. Yeah, I mean, I just want to put out my point of view.
All right, my dear. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Yes, this is quite a dangerous situation. Jim says it has to be pretty good sized rocks to cause this type of damage. Darlene says, Sandy, whether it's one or more cases with the rock throwing, it needs some police presence, without a doubt. Miss Sue says, darn right, Sandy, they need to sort this out. It's very scary. Garrett said they should be thrown in jail. I would call it attempted murder, really. Me too, because I mean, like I said, somebody crashes, you got a problem, a serious one at that. And Dean says, I think they're throwing these rocks at the person so that the person can stop to check so that they can rob them or steal their car. Wow. Cameron says, police going to say that that's a duppy too. And Dean goes on to say that those police are afraid themselves. Oh, good grief. So Finney agrees that this is a new way to rob you, to get you to stop and get out, and then they rob you. Wow. That's not cool. Marshall says the police needs to find out from the victims where exactly it's taken place and stake out the area and catch these criminals. As the last caller, or the caller before said, it's situations like this that make us wonder and question whatever happened to the $1 million camera systems that we spent millions of dollars on, and they never, ever, ever, ever really seemed to work all that well. And we've been slowly going through and replacing them. Now, I'm not saying that they never work, because I can tell you that the ones on West Bay Road that they have up by the Kimpton and the touristy areas help catch the Tortuga armed robbers and help prosecute them. But we need them not just on West Bay Road, but all over the community. Newlands bypass matters too, not just West Bay Road. I'm just saying. Cameron says the RCIPS is in a mess when CMR has to give them various tactics. Lord Jesus, mess. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Sandra. Morning.
Yes, morning.
Yeah, the cameras, they do work, but it's like you pay for apple and peaches.
Oh yeah.
The pixels are poor, so it's cheap cameras.
Oh, well, so they don't work very well.
There was an issue there with those cameras.
Oh Lord.
So is you buying security footage for your home?
Mm-hmm.
You need to buy good quality with pixels.
Of course.
So you can even see the license plate and stuff. But
yes,
these
that's
cameras
right.
that installed, they were cheap stuff.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Not good. Thank you so much, caller. Yeah, I mean, but why are we paying millions of dollars for cheap stuff? That's my question. So we never got value for money then. Because you see, sometimes the people approving these things don't even know what value for that particular business means. They need to speak to not just someone making the bid who has an interest in it, who's going to tell you, oh yeah, these are good cameras. They need to speak to, real experts who can independently verify and say, is that of the quality that is needed? Listen, you have all 4K and 8K cameras now available that have low light sensitivity. So even at night and low lights, they work extremely well. Good morning, caller.
I'm sorry to be a serial caller, but I told you so.
Well, it's better than being a serial killer.
But listen, yeah. I hear people all the time about the cameras not working and all that, but it never crossed my non-tech mind that would be a problem. And I cannot believe they won't call the gentleman a liar, sorry, not calling you a liar, but I cannot believe that as much money as the Cayman Islands government spends when they are doing something, even if they were taken for a ride and they know they're going to be taken for a ride, the person who took them for a ride can't be that bad. Oh my God, what you say? Just a matter of, is this a good thing or not?
Mm-hmm.
We can't open our mouths and say that. And from the time you came back home, I know you into the tech stuff. They couldn't ask you.
No, I'm no camera expert though. Being into
it
techie
doesn't
stuff
matter.
and
You know
being
where
a
to
camera
find
expert
one.
are two different things. Well, I mean, yeah,
you would.
I'm
sure you would know where to find one.
Well, I leave that stuff up to the experts. I mean, Marlon does our security cameras at home, and every so often you do have to upgrade them because new technology is available. And I tell you what, we're like Fort Knox around here. We got a lot of camera coverage.
As you should, because people also know that you have techy stuff about, and it's valuable.
So much so that sometimes if something happens in the neighborhood, the neighbors ask us to check our cameras to see if we caught anything.
Okay. And all I'm saying is our government can look within to say, give me some pointers, give me a heads up, give me some guidance to their very own, and then you can hear about pixels. Not exactly sure what it is, but I have an idea. And it makes perfect sense to me now. But before they will admit that they made such a boo-boo, they will say the camera's not working. Or, they're down or whatever. Remember, we had that situation at the dump with one of our Georgetowners going missing. You hear about camera. Maybe with the pixels then too. I'll go on and I hope not to trouble again.
All right, darling. Another call on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Sandy. Remember now, Ms. Charlene just mentioned about our own. Our own is who had that contract and messed it up the way. So let's don't look outside. Go deep in your investigative mind. Will find out how that store went, and they are still there bleeding government and blaming.
Well, as I recall, that was Security Center. Let's just be very clear. As I recall, that was Security Center who got the contract. It shouldn't be any secret who gets government contracts. So this is no top secret here.
There we go.
So you know, a lot of people had questions.
Who was heading it? Who was heading it from the government part? Who was getting that part?
Well, again, this is no top secret. You know, we were told, although this stuff goes out to a procurement committee, so I guess technically he should have been part of the procurement committee, but he was part of whatever. What would that division have been called? National security, whatever they call it. I don't know if they called it that at the time, but Eric Bush. So is Mr. Eric to blame for this? But he's not the sole decision maker in this.
He wasn't the sole, but
a lot of people said he influenced the decision. I mean, I don't know how that works. A civil servant, maybe he was chief officer at the time. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and have a look. But how much responsibility would a single person take for, you know, us getting a contract for services that have been less than ideal?
Yeah. Wanda, we got to look at it further. We do some things here in Cayman that happens nowhere else. Nowhere else. All depends on who you are and who know you and who you know, and you know, vice versa. So let's just stick to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, my dear. Ms. Morna says they need to send the helicopter to see from above. Well, the problem with the helicopter is it's very noisy, so I don't think that's a stealth way of getting, you know, catching your man. But let's take that idea, Miss Morna, and expound on that a little bit more. You know what could be helpful? Drones. Yeah. So maybe we deploy some drones. Another good point that somebody made, was it Cara that said this? She said, tell them to actually do their job and go around the area where this is happening and check residents' camera footage around the times this is happening to see who was around leading up to the area that this is happening. But it's nothing big on them at this moment, like someone mentioned, not until someone special gets hurt or killed. I think, Cara, that's a fantastic idea, actually. Check camera footage, ask residents in the area. The person has come back and they said, morning, it's on the bypass, Savannah, the road on the left closest to the bush area. Well, that's not very helpful. I don't know where the hell that's supposed to be because all that is to me is bush. Maybe you can have another landmark because that by the bush area, not really. That doesn't help me too much. But, you know, if we could narrow down exactly where that would help them maybe check. And listen, we're a small community. Y'all are listening to this show this morning. If you have camera footage at your house and you live in that area, check your footage to see if your camera's caught anything over the weekend. They may have very well caught the culprit or culprits. Not that many people out at 4 o'clock in the morning and at 5 something in the morning. Help the police if you can. Yeah. Darlene says, Sandy, I believe the CTV and West Bay Road are not. Yeah, they're all being replaced now, Miss Darlene. So those are, I think, relatively new. And of course, that area of the island gets priority because it's a touristy area and they want to be capturing everything that happens on West Bay Road next to these nice hotels and so on. By the way, speaking of, I was just thinking about this with the Kimpton. Let me clarify and correct something. So remember before I went on holiday, we were talking about this company down by, what's the other resort called? Oh, Lord, help me out here now. The one that isn't paying people, right? And some of you were sending in information. And I got some information that I want to make sure. Let me take this opportunity now to clarify this. Kevin, if you're listening, bookmark this point in time because I do want us to ensure that we put this up by way of clarification, right? we were talking about, oh Lord, help me remember the name of the property. West Bay Road, the one with the containers that were removed, not paying contractors. What's the name of that property again? Okay, it'll come to me in a second, and one of you will remember. So I wanted to clarify something about the property. Okay, so hold on now, it's coming to me. Palm Heights. Okay, we were saying something about this Gabby person, Gabriella or Gabby or whatever her name is. Some of you were thinking that she was somehow connected, or she was Dart's daughter. For sake of really important clarity, Gabby is not Dart's daughter. No family, from what I'm understanding. Matthew is not his son-in-law. So these people are not family to Dart. I want to make that very clear, because there seems to be some sort of understanding in the community that they're family to Dart. Maybe they're telling people that. I don't know where this rumor came from, but they are not. Okay. So whatever they're doing is on them. They're simply leasing the property, my understanding is, from the Dart organization. So Palm Heights have outstanding bills that they're paying. That ain't got nothing to do with the Dart organization. They're not family to Dart. They're not in business with Dart. In fact, I'm assuming they are, Dart organization is a vendor that they have to pay then to lease that property. I hope they're paying that bill. But I did want to make it very, very clear that the proprietors, the owners, and so on of Palm Heights have no connection to the Dart organization. They're not family. They may not even be friends of those people. They're just doing business. So when they're name dropping, as it relates to, or bills and whatever, don't make them put the fear of anything in you, because who knows, they might owe Dart money too. We don't know. I'm just saying, because they seem very bold when not paying their bills to the tune, allegedly, of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, remember the containers that were removed? They have, this is according to the planning meeting here, page number 73, Palm Sunshine, block 12C, parcel 443, $1.5 million project, I guess, according to them. P23-0133 is a planning application number. Application to modify planning permission, because they didn't seek any for what they were doing. And it says location, West Bay Road at Palm Heights Drive. It's neighborhood commercial, no objectors, they claim. Parcel size lot over 60,000 square feet. And it says that the application to modify planning permission to add 2,443.6 square feet and 2 pools to the proposal, as well as revise the site layout and building shapes. That's a pretty big change. That was September of 2021. October of 2020, application for increase in floor area and 4 additional pools were approved. August of 2019, application to modify floor and site plans. And then the application approved for wellness garden with gym, pool, storage building, office, and restrooms. That was from June of 2019. So the recommendation, discuss planning permission for the following reason: the use of 7 storage containers as sound attenuation features on the property. So it looks like those 7 containers may not have gotten the relevant approval. And, I would say that planning has to now go back and work on that situation. Knowing them, they'll probably approve it. So it says that the application seeks to modify planning permission for after the fact changes to the site in the following manner. And then they lay out about after the fact addition to the outdoor gym, roofed area, no walls, after the fact addition of 6 40-foot containers and 1 20-foot container to the site as sound attenuation features. Okay. After the fact, interior changes to buildings A, E, F, and K1. And after the fact, revise location of garbage enclosure. So they did all of that without planning approval? But y'all not easy. Y'all not easy at all. But for clarity's sake, Gabby, not Dart's daughter. Like I said, doesn't sound like there's any relationship there whatsoever. Okay. All right. RCIPS, get it together with the cameras, get it together with the Newlands bypass. Tracy says better resolution on a Ring camera than ATMs, laughing out loud. What a mess. Sion says remove the K word, Facebook going to block you. What K word? I don't, are you responding to someone? I don't know what that means. Tracy says, forget relying on the RCIPS. We need cameras to deter and catch them, not to mention speeders. Well, I mean, public cameras are a matter for the RCIPS. You know, recently someone said to me, and I found this a little bit shocking, to be honest. Someone said to me that they were told by the RCIPS that their camera can't be facing the road because if it captures anything on a roadway, that's illegal. I was like, huh? A police officer told you that? They don't sound like they got no sense. I've never heard of such a thing. Sion says, Sandy, some landlords need to let their tenants know that they need to respect other tenants. They had all kind of people coming in and out of the yard like it's a broad yard. I think we've changed topics there, but okay. Yes, Palm Heights. That's a messy situation. Okay, folks, let's talk about caregivers. I've been trying to talk about this for well over a week. Oh, yes, look at Akina. She said, are we going to talk about the caregivers today? Yes. Let's just get it done, Akina. I was trying to get to it all last week and never got to it. So here's the situation. Caregivers are reaching out and they are saying to me that they're not getting paid. What a mess. Well, I suppose they're not the only ones that might be running into a non-payment situation. But this is quite sad. But, you know, what a mess. Oh, one more comment about the cameras. Somebody says they show an invoice for the good cameras, but they really purchased the cheaper ones to install. Ooh, that would be fraud, honey chow. I hope to God that that's not happening. What? Oh. Okay. Well, that would be fraud if that is actually being done, but okay. All right. So I know a lady called in yesterday and I'm inviting her to call back. I don't know what she wanted to say on this topic, but part of the problem is this. It comes down to who you work for and dishonest employers taking advantage of people, right? So one of the things that, one of the observations that I've made from these caregivers is they say to them, well, we're not getting paid because they're saying that Cineco isn't paying them. If you are running a business, okay, this is business 101. You have to make sure that you can afford to pay your workers regardless of whether or not your invoices are getting paid. Now, that's going to sound a little bit crazy, and I will have to break this down and really make sure that everybody's on the same page. But you can't hire people and then sit down and say, well, this month, these invoices have to be paid in order for my workers to be paid. You need to have money in reserves. And this is where a lot of small business people, oh God, some of these contractors that even I use, I can tell that they don't manage their business well. They're horrible. Friday come, they do a job for you today. By Friday, they chasing you down. Oh, Miss Sandy, you can pay that invoice for me? I'm like you just finished yesterday. Yeah, but I need to pay my guys today. Today's Friday. I need to make payroll. So if you didn't get my job, how the hell were you planning on making payroll? How are you going to pay your guys? You should have at least a couple months worth of salary in the bank for your workers. This is when y'all not operating your businesses correctly. You jump in, go get a business license, and you don't know what the hell you're doing when it comes to running a business. You're supposed to be able to make payroll even if your current outstanding invoices don't get paid for 30 days. But that's not how y'all work. Because as money comes into the business, you're spending it quicker than you're making it. I bet you're paying yourself. Most of you not going without getting your mortgages paid and eating. And this isn't really unique to caregivers. It's construction workers. It's across the board. How you can hire people and don't know how you're going to pay those people. Things happen with contracts. Sometimes people are late. Sometimes they're not paying or whatever. So if you can't foresee that you have contracts that are going to be paid in time, money's in the bank, money's received to pay your workers, this ain't going to work. So Cineco allegedly, in some situations, is taking months in order to pay out. And because of that, the caregivers are being told that they can't get paid. Well, this is quite an interesting situation. I mean, I do question, why is Cineco, they sounded like they becoming like NAU now. Why are they taking so long to pay people? That is a question. Right? Good morning, Miss Sandy. I'm an experienced, loving, dedicated, passionate caregiver who loves to take care of the elderly. I have crazy love for them. I'm in need of a job. I'm currently but desperately in need of deliverance because I've been waiting 2 and 3 months to get paid. This is crazy. Only God knows how I survive. Right? I'm having to borrow money to pay my bills, and it's all kind of excuses of Cineco. I can't take it anymore, so I'm seeking a job. So my question is, how are you here? Are you in a work permit? Yes. Okay. So how many people are employed with this person that isn't paying you? Because if they're doing it to you, you better believe your bottom dollar that they're doing it to other people as well. 2-3 months without pay? Come on now. You know you get paid every month in Cayman and you barely can survive. Forcing people to go 2 and 3 months without pay is unlawful, number one. It is immoral, number two. How do you fancy that they're going to be surviving? So I am curious. One person I want to call, if I can get her number, in relation to this, these caregiving companies are just popping up all over the place. And it seems to me that these individuals don't have a clue how to run a business. They just want, oh, I can grab a contract, show it to Cineco, and then, hire these people, take out work permits. Some of them still having people pay for their work permits. They're not giving them pension and health insurance. It's like, come on. What's going on here? Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Hi, pleasant morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I have a lot of concerns. We as caregiver. I am a caregiver here, and I am certified. Right? am employed by a private person, meaning the person that I'm taking care of, they are the person who employed me. They have my permit.
Mm-hmm.
I am being paid through Cineco, right? And I got the job. I started to work for 3 days. My client went into the hospital for 1 month. And for that entire month, I am not paid because Cineco does not pay while the client is in the hospital, which I did not know that before I got the job, right? So for 1 month.
Let me understand what you're saying now, because you're saying you're being paid through Cineco, but you don't have any direct contact with Cineco. Is that right?
No.
Right.
But I called them too to find out about I am not being paid while the client is in the hospital. They said that that's their policy, right?
So somebody hired you. Is this a caregiver company or just an individual family that you're working with?
An individual.
All right. So somebody hires you, and they don't say to you that we're hiring you from this date. Did you come from somewhere else or were you on island?
I was on island.
Okay. So you left another job.
Say that again.
Did you leave another job to take up this job?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh my. And so they didn't bother to then tell you that, the person is still in the hospital. You can't get paid, or they weren't intending to pay you. Obviously, and Cineco isn't going to pay you until the person comes out of the hospital. They didn't tell you any of that.
No, the thing is that, honestly, the person who employed me did not know that Cineco would not pay me, right? So apparently the patient that is sick is a family member who employed me for the patient, right? But they did not know that Cineco would not pay. So I did a contract, right, with the family that I would come and take care of the patient. First, they wanted me to do a living job, right? I agreed, and I give them a salary that I would like to receive for the month. 1 month plus every other weekends off, right? That was into the contract. It was submitted to Cineco. Cineco refused from giving me a living job. They said that 2 persons has to do the job, right? So they did not grant me that living job, right? So when the client went into the hospital and I was expecting pay, that's when the lady showed me a letter, right, that Cineco sent to her. And I said, well, this letter is very late because I already agreed and started working. None of this was put out to me, right? They said that they can't do anything else because they can't afford to pay me, right? So it is Cineco, right? So
but
for
listen
one
to me.
entire month.
Let me pause you there for 1 second, right? I mean, it would be their responsibility to know these things if they are taking it upon themselves to hire someone and then expecting Cineco to pay for that person's salary. But ultimately, the work permit is with the employer, not with Cineco. So that person, whoever they are responsible for paying you, whether Cineco pays or not. So that month or whatever period of time that Cineco said, no, we're not going to cover that. We're not going to pay. You don't have insurance coverage because Cineco is an insurance company. They're not an employer for the purposes of this situation. Your employer, the person who took out a work permit and stated that you'd be making whatever dollar amount per hour, is responsible for paying you. That's what the legal position is. So don't let these people hoodwink you into bringing Cineco into the mix, regardless of it was an honest mistake. They better find the money to pay you because they owe you that money. Did you work? Did you work, miss?
I said, I'm saying that I worked for 3 days.
Then they must pay you for the 3 days.
Well, she did pay me for the 3 days. But the point that I'm saying, if I am employed to you and my client goes into the hospital for 1 month, what am I supposed to do for 1 month? Because when I was getting this job, it has to be approved by Cynico. Before I got this job, in spite of her taking out the permit and everything, all of the paperwork was have to be up to date for Cynico to approve that I can get this job.
No.
Automatically,
let me understand something, because I've never gone through this process with Cynico. So what you're saying is Cynico approves you as the caregiver?
Yes, because they got me and they had to put in this paperwork. They had to put in the paperwork to Cynico. So
No. Let's back up, because they're two very different things here. Cynico might be approving the coverage for a caregiver. Cynico probably doesn't care who the caregiver is. My question to you is that you're understanding that you specifically have to be vetted and approved by Cynico. I don't think so. That being the case,
but what?
Right? This employer that has hired you has to understand that the Cynico coverage for your services only covers if the person's in the home and you're there taking care of them. If they're in the hospital, and you can understand why Cynico is going to say, why would we cover for that? The person's getting hospital care. You know what I'm saying? That person doesn't need to be there if they're in the hospital, if they're in ICU or in the medical ward or whatever. If you're still employed with that person, they have to know that it's their legal obligation to pay you outside of those periods that Cynico is going to cover. And this is the point that I was making before. These companies must have money, or individuals must have money in reserve and figure out a way of how to pay people's salaries. Yeah. If the person is going to go in the hospital long term, what are you supposed to do? Sounds like you better find yourself another job.
That's definitely what I'm saying, because this is being very, very unfair to us as a caregiver. In the island, there's no, if somebody have your permit, so I am a caregiver now, and God forbid if I should go somewhere else and to do some work, because I wouldn't want to go again and to cancel my permit and to do all of that procedure. And if I am having a patient and that patient gone into the hospital 1-2 months, and if I go and get an illegal job, what will they do to me?
Exactly.
Right?
And that's
so in everything, it is not we have our bills to pay, right? We cannot live here free. And working for sitting down for 1 month waiting on your patient, because this is your job. And the patient gone into the hospital and it leaves you unemployed, because automatically you are unemployed for that 1 month. So you are not earning.
Yeah.
You understand me? And
and this happens all the time. Even with construction workers, the other day, construction worker reached out. Oh, his boss doesn't currently have any construction contracts or any jobs. So he's out there looking for work. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. He was asking me to post it on CMR. I'm like, I can't post that. That's against the law. You're not supposed to be working. Your employer has agreed to pay you. When they fill out that work permit application, they've agreed to pay you, whether it's an hourly wage, a monthly wage, or whatever. And it's not incumbent on whether or not they have any work. If they say on average, I'm going to be paying this person 40 hours a week at $10 per hour, immigration has taken that, or WORC has taken that into calculation, and whether or not you're making enough to survive in this country, and whether or not they should approve that work permit. So because they don't have a contract, or because they don't have work, they're supposed to still pay you. And this is why employers need to know and understand the law and know the position that they're in, and also make sure that they're explaining things properly to their workers.
And I think that is the thing about it, because when you see the contract, the contract states, right, that you will be receiving this amount by Cynico. It did not say they will pay this money. It will because as I said,
let me tell you something, honey. I'm pretty sure Cynico isn't cutting you the check. So Cynico is not your employer. Now, someone did clarify that Cynico, for the purposes of figuring out, how much they're going to pay for the service, Cynico does vet the individual caregiver in relation to their qualifications and that deems how much Cineco is going to pay. But Cineco is not the one writing you the check. Is that correct?
Definitely not.
Okay. So they can't put in a contract, add Cineco into it when Cineco is not even part of that contract. Cineco not signing anything. Cineco is not paying you directly. It's that person, whoever that person is, who hired you and took out your work permit. They are your employer. And as your employer, they have a legal obligation to ensure that you're getting paid, whether Cineco is paying them for a period of a week, a month, or whatever. There's a lot of education. Listen, people are getting permits approved for businesses and they have no clue what they're doing. And this is very, very concerning. I keep saying that DCI needs to do more than just handing out and doling out licenses. There's no enforcement. There's no checks and balances. There's none of this that is taking place in this country. And it is putting people in a very precarious situation, because I'm sure that you are here trying to live and survive in the Cayman Islands. You probably have a family back in Jamaica that's depending on you to also assist them, send money back, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of position does this put you in?
Exactly.
How can you survive?
It is. Yeah, and that I think that there soon be no persons who are willing to do caregiving jobs. So I think there's going to be a crisis here sooner or later, because persons are going to refuse from being a caregiver. Because if this continues, it doesn't make any sense for us. It is not benefiting us in no way, right? Sometimes the jobs that they are supposed to do, and you know, it's just overwhelming at times, and it will become frustrated to know that you are doing so much, and at the end of the day, it is not benefiting you at all.
Yeah, and you know, some people get so frustrated that they end up taking it out on the poor elderly patients, which is unfortunate. But I know sometimes that happens as well. And you know,
I hope they don't.
Yeah, I mean that's horrible. Trust me.
I love my patient. Honestly, I tell my patient, if I did not love you or care for you, I would be gone, right? But my patient is at a delicate point. And right now, honestly, I really want my patient to get over the odds. And when my patient get over the odds, it's like me put my patient before my needs. Me just want my patient to get over whatever the situation that, you know, the patient is going through, and we just gone, because it is like nobody have your interest at heart. It does not have your interest at heart.
It's a very sad situation, but I think you have to be with an employer that understands the law first and foremost and understands the process, right? So you know, some of these employers don't want to take out health insurance for people. People get injured on the job. One guy during COVID broke his arm. He couldn't work. He's in construction. The employer, he doesn't have no insurance. He's not going to pay for him to, you know, he was off for weeks trying to recover and get better. I'm having to go and from my little donation basket, right? Take out canned food and stuff to take to this man, begging people on his behalf who can take him a plate of food. He can't cook because his hand is broken. He can't help himself. Meanwhile, his employer, a Caymanian Jamaican guy who owns a construction company, not doing nothing to help him. And these things are creating third world situations that we should not be tolerating in this country. And it's putting good people at a real disadvantage, and it should not be happening. But where's the enforcement? Where is DCI? Where is what are the other ones called? DLP, Department of Labor and Pensions, DLP. You know, where's WORC? They know which industries traditionally are doing this. Why are they not on top of it? These caregiver businesses overnight have just popped up all over the place. Everybody wants to have a caregiving business, just like lawn and gardening services, just like construction, just like cleaning services. They're some of the biggest offenders on this island of taking advantage of their workers. They're not paying people. Yeah. And I said the easiest way to enforce the whole salary and make sure people are getting paid, number one, everybody who comes to Cayman should have a bank account for the purposes of receiving your salary. Number two, employers should have to directly put your salary in your bank account or give you a check. That is paper proof that you've been paid.
That's right.
And then WORC needs to do spot checks. They need to come in and do an audit, right? They receive a complaint. Show us the deposit slips of where your 5 employees are getting paid every single month. And then if employer can't show that, you don't get a business license and you get your behind taken to court for non-payment of your staff. But that's not happening. Yes. So they're not paying people, right? Not paying for insurance, not paying for pension, not even paying salaries. And there's no one there to look out for workers. This is ridiculous. As a country, we should be ashamed that we are importing workers and allowing this to happen, much less. And there's so many people who are being hoodwinked. All these ads popping up all over the place in Jamaica on these websites, talking foolishness about, oh, come to the Cayman Islands and work. And the same resources that they're using to advertise, Instagram, Facebook, our government should be posting and advertising all over Jamaica platforms saying these are not legitimate companies. They're not legitimate ads. Do not give these people your money, talking about they can get you work in all sorts of industries. It's a scam. And people are being taken advantage of.
And what I think too, not only companies that they really need to look into and need to educate these persons who they don't have a company, because I am not in a company. Yes. I am working with a private person.
Yes, but she's still an employer, right? And she's still obligated to know the law.
That's what I'm saying, because apparently all of this that is happening,
and ignorance of the law is no excuse. Her claiming that she don't know the law is no excuse. The law still applies. Yeah. So she better know it. And she better find you your money and pay you too. Miss Olive says I better hit the hallelujah button. Hold on. She said that one needed the hallelujah button. My dear, you need to find yourself a new job and a new employer who actually understands. And I know sometimes that's difficult, especially when you get attached to some of the people that you're taking care of. But you got to take care of yourself first. You need to make sure you're getting paid. Okay?
So true.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
936-2626. We do have another caller joining us on WhatsApp. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can turn like Charmaine now.
Yeah, my dear. Sometimes you got to do that.
But Sandra, my question is, where has Caymanians gone with compassion, fairness, and being good to their helpers? No, I'm not saying that this is all Caymanian, because I have experienced that these people that come from abroad has found that loophole, and every Jean, Mary, Dick, and Harry is having an agency. Government, DCI, or wherever it starts, need to get proper. You think you could come to the UK and say you open up an agency to take care of the elderly or the sick without you going through some state exams, state this, everything is a state. That America's the same way. Why are we so gullible to everything? We do not need those amount of agencies in Cayman, and they need to start to weed them out. You know, I've come in cases where, and it breaks my heart because I know how I treat my workers, or I don't even say workers, people that is employed by myself. We will do without. And I know this from my whole family. We would do without to see that our helper or helpers or employees are treated fairly and sometimes beyond, because I take them sometimes as family, which is sometimes not a good thing. But that is the heart that we have. That is how the compassion that Caymanians have. You know, I have seen where you have someone that's going in to take care of the elderly. Then the people that usually is the now it's coming down to Caymanian, they got their mother and father, elderly there. They want Seneco to pay for taking care of them. They want Seneco to pay for being the nanny. Want Seneco to be the housekeeper. Want Seneco to pay for taking care of the cats and dogs. And then you as the employee, bless them, their heart, those helpers or caregivers, they can't say anything. You know why? They are so desperate to have a job. But it's unfairness, and the government needs to start to arrest them and charge them, put them in jail. because they are using our money, which is the public's purse, to take care of some of these no good people that want babysitters. Cases, I've known cases where the helper goes taking care of the elder, then staying on weekends, sleeping over to take care of the children, while the mamas and papas or mothers and fathers go out and have a good time and paying them $800. Is that that is not right? And I'm telling all expats or whoever it is that doing it, report them.
Yes.
It got to be rough that you can't go back to your country and eat bananas and beans and plantain. Do not stand up for this kind of behavior. Kimanya, we were not made to be like this.
Exactly.
This is why it hurts me.
Yeah.
Because this is not us. This is not us. All of this behavior, we need to settle it, Sandra. People, I feel sorry for people when they come and work in our country and can't get paid 2 months, 3 months. Something needs to be done. And you can't fuss with NAU and all of them in this case, because they're just they're paying what it may. Seneca may take a while to pay, but they still get it. And they need to streamline. Seneca needs to streamline it, ask for the proper documents, and DCI needs to step in and say, hey, let's go and see what you operating. Let's get recommendations or reviews of how your agencies run. And I bet you a lot of them will stop. I bet you a lot of them will stop. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jerry says this is modern day slavery is what it is. Karen says once you get the Cynical packet for applying, it's clear what it entails and how you go about the process. It's not difficult to understand. Kaboom, says Cameron. Magdalene says common sense ideas, audit trail for renewals of business license and permits. I mean, Magdalene, I don't know why it's so hard. We put these things in place. We need enforcement, right? But there's no enforcement. Remember the other Caymanian girl who had a business and she would take out, I forget what kind of business she had. Was it caregiving or construction? I think it was construction. Take out a insurance and then go cancel it. Wouldn't pay after that, make it get canceled. And then when it comes time to renew the permit, she would go to another company. You mean to tell me it took years to catch on to this woman? Why? If they were doing proper checks, it would have been easy to catch her. And you see what the judge said? Oh, my hands are tied. You should never have another business in Cayman again. But I don't have the power to do that. Why doesn't the judge have the power to do that? Because our legislators, once again, MPs, they can work really fast when it comes to getting us off a gray list and a black list, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But all these other issues that we need passed and we need legislation and support around, we can't get it. What are we paying them for exactly again? Try and remind me. Something getting $9,000, $12,000, and they're not coming up with no ideas. They're not pushing anything, motions that really matter to the people. Natasha says, agreed, it should be mandatory that all work permit holders must open up a bank account. Cameron says this stuff has been going on for years, and we spoke about it. We spoke about it all the time instead of nipping it in the bud. Ms. Karen says Cynical offers 3 types based on qualifications. I think it's 2 or 3. And Ms. Karen also says that she doesn't understand the process. I have caregivers. You're correct. It's not Cynical's problem. When my mom is in the hospital, I still pay my caregivers. These people are just ridiculous. El Rey says, if the care is being given by the hospital, why should Cynical pay? Well, like I said, it's logical that they won't. Magdalene says, tell them. That's why the minimum wage issue needs to be discussed. Increased wage, increased operating costs, therefore cost of goods could increase. Well, I hope y'all ready for it. You want more money, right? The cost of everything will probably go up as a result. And there will be some businesses who will naturally close because they can't afford to pay more than $6 an hour. It is what it is. Cameron says, someone asked me one day if I could take out a permit for them. And when I said that I can't afford it, They boldly said, I don't have to worry about pension and health. I was flabbergasted because once again, Cameron, so many people out there breaking the laws and there's little to no enforcement. So nobody not scared of getting caught, right? And even when they get caught, it's a slap on the wrist. I saw another caller calling. Let me call them back, see if they had a comment on this. Carla says some people...
Number you dialed is temporarily out of service.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I know how they were calling me if it was out of service. Or is that my phone can't call out again? Oh, Flo. What a hot mess. Get me my toll-free number, Flo. Gosh darn it. Carla says some people ask a friend or family member to take out a permit for them, even though they know that they have no work for them all the time. Not even friends and family. They're doing it for total strangers now, honey child. The person on permit pays for their own permit, their health insurance premiums, and also pay the person who took out the permit fax. Oh, Jesus. Leroy says some caregivers get vehicle live-in at a good salary. I've seen it. Well, that's probably not a whole lot. Carla says Cineco does pay salaries for caregivers for the elderly. The person applies for a certain type of permit and Cineco covers the salary. But let me say this. It's paid to the employer who then pays it to the worker. As far as I know, Cineco is not cutting a check to any caregiver directly. And in fact, y'all want to hear something else that's been going on? Some of these so-called employers are skimming off of the top. So say, for example, Cineco has decided to pay $10 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour. They're taking half of that money, pocketing it for themselves, and then turn around and paying the caregiver $6 or $7 per hour. That is illegal, folks. Caller.
Hi. There's a proposal that banks should be that people should be required to have an account to get their check put into. Would the corresponding obligation be that the banks are not then allowed to shut down your account?
On what basis are they shutting down the account?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. If you're required to have it by law, then how could the bank shut it down?
Well, banks have a right. I mean, I don't know why they're shutting it down.
I understand.
But you can't just put a blanket requirement in a bank that you can never shut down somebody's account. There could be a very legitimate reason why they're doing it.
Well, actually, there might be. But one of the developments that is happening in the world is that banks are shutting down people's accounts and not really telling them why. They just say, oh, it's a commercial decision.
Well, thankfully, you have more than one bank available to you that you could go to.
And then if people know, this is an actual situation. They go to other banks and they're denied service.
Well, there has to be a reason why.
Yes, I understand.
So what's the reason why?
They're not. The official reason is it's a commercial decision.
And what's the unofficial reason?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we might want to start there.
The point that I'm making is, well, how can I start at a point where I don't know what it is?
Well, that's what you got to do some digging, honey child, and find out. Because sometimes people are money laundering and doing other stuff. There's a legitimate reason.
Then say that.
Well, they may not want to tip the person off. There might be other investigations afoot.
Okay. Well, the problem with that, though, is that people rely on banking services to conduct their affairs. And so what I'm saying is that things are getting a little bit out of whack. I understand your point about requiring people to open an account, but all it did was
okay, Denny, let me ask you to see the forest for the trees now. How many people Denny, are being impacted by the random closure of bank accounts?
What if only Sandra Catron was being sorry about that, Sandra Hill was being affected by it? What if you were the only person being affected by it?
Okay.
Would it be important?
To me.
Yes. But so society should just say, well,
no. But hold on a second now. Again, what is the bigger problem here that we're discussing this morning is that people are going without even getting paid, and employers are able to get away with it because there is no bank account and no proper trail for people to say, this is how I got paid. If that solves 98% of the problems, and you've got the 2%ers, right?
Then don't worry about Sandra Hill.
I'm not saying that. We will have to figure out how to deal with those people separately. Maybe they can't get a bank account. They should even be in Cayman. I mean, I don't know why they can't get a bank account is what I'm saying to you. Yeah.
Well,
so we would need a bit more information.
It's an area that needs to be looked at because things are getting out of control.
Okay, but what I'm saying to you, it doesn't sound like it's a priority if you only know it's probably impacted one person. Just take a pin.
I didn't say it was.
I have actually been impacted by that. Many years ago, the Bank of Butterfield refused to allow me to open a bank account. They never said why. Guess what? I had like 6 other commercial banks I could go to and open a bank account. Nobody else refused me. Butterfield just didn't want me, and I guess that's their right. If they don't want me as a customer, that's their business.
No, but think about.
And I'm perfectly happy with Cayman National Bank, though. I bet you they wish they had me now.
That's fine, but there is an issue that's developing, and before it gets way out of control, it needs to be addressed.
Okay. We need to figure out how big that issue is, but that's not the issue that we're really discussing this morning, to be fair.
The theme that you're discussing is you're talking about issues that need resolution. It's been going on forever. And we're not getting resolution to those issues. And you're saying what you think should be done. Well, do you believe something will be done?
About people's bank accounts being closed?
No, about people, about the issues that you're talking about right now with people hiring people, not paying them, and on and on.
Well, I mean, listen,
it's going to be dealt with.
We have to put some pressure on the system.
Exactly.
So, this is what I'm saying. Like, there are viable solutions that can be put on the table, and they need to try and get it done.
Who is responsible for getting it done?
Well, the civil service and the MPs.
No.
The MPs have to set the law in place. They have to make sure that the civil service has enough budgeting for enforcement officers. And then it is for WORC, DCI, DLP, all these agencies who are tasked with enforcement to get it done. Put the legal and legal framework and mechanisms in place. And then the civil servants are supposed to be responsible for the execution of it.
Right. And when you were talking about the cameras earlier, a chief officer can only recommend that a politician and an MP do something, but it's then up to cabinet whether they decide to take that advice or not, or to modify it or to do whatever. So ultimately, we're talking about the will of the MP to address these issues.
Well, that's for sure.
So if we want things to be done, what we have to do is apply pressure to politicians to get it done and stop the excuses.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. But I just decided to throw in my little piece while we're asking for things to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all righty. Thank you. All right, folks. I tell you what, it's a hot mess. I don't know how much, like I said, people are being impacted by the closure of accounts, but I know one thing for sure. A lot of people are being impacted by non-payment. So, of course, I think the radio would have cut us off. We're still going strong on social media for a little bit. I was just scheduling a remote support session with some scanner issue I'm having today. But let's talk some more. Let me see some of the comments. So Magdalene said that she should still be paid. Miss Marlene says, but again, some person whose caregiver is being paid by Cineco cannot afford to pay the caregiver given on their own. That is why they reach out to Cineco for help. But they have to, they're the employer. So Cineco is helping. But this is my point. You need to have some money in reserves to know situations happen. If the person goes in a hospital, Cineco can no longer pay them. What do you expect? That the employee isn't going to get paid, Marlene? That's not how the law works. You have a legal obligation to pay. And if you don't have anything in reserves or saved up to be able to pay that person, then you better not hire a caregiver like that. What you probably want to do is hire a caregiver service. There are companies that will come in and provide the service where you're not the employer. Let me break it down. Again, this is business 101. Don't become an employer. If you don't know immigration laws, you don't understand these things, don't get into the business of doing it. There are companies, third-party companies, that you just hire their service. So in other words, nobody works for you. You don't take out a work permit for anyone. You're not responsible for pension, health insurance, and all these other things. That's the route you need to go. Because then they're the ones who have the workers under them, and they're responsible for payment of those people, and they can shift them from one client to a different client and so on. And they must know that when the person is not working, they are responsible for payment of them regardless. Don't become a business person or an employer if you do not know these things. Sion says, oh boy, I'm on vacation. It's almost over. Need another week, but broke, laid back in my bed, not have to hide from my boss to listen to CMR. Lord have mercy. Asking for another week. To Olive, can you pay for another week expenses for me? You want to stay home for another week? Oh my goodness. No, son. You got to get back to work. Natasha says, I'm happy to finally hear the helpers speaking up about the abuses by employers who treat them as slaves. It's quite sad. Good morning, Scott. How are you? Scott says, the first rule in Cayman is there are none. Oh, geez, I'm peace. So many industries and businesses and groups that never, ever get any attention, despite their known egregious reputations or risk to people's lives or risk to public health and safety. There's a fine line between regulation and freedom to run a business, but so many instances where there is zero regulation or protection for customers or the general public. And Scott, employees as well. No protection for employees. It is really quite shocking, Scott. Thank you for that comment. Sion says, Sandy, you look well, peaceful this morning. You took your meds. I think it might be that second camera that's really not the best. But I always take my meds, honey chill. But sometimes you got to get a little bit, you got to flare up a little bit for people to pay attention, honey. Juanita says, appreciate Sandy. Construction bosses are the biggest ungrateful people to work. Right now, my husband had a stroke in May, had a big surgery. Actually, it was 2 surgeries on his leg for blood clots, was in a hospital between Georgetown and Health City. And the workers showed my husband more compassion than the 2 bosses. Wow. It's a shame. Plus, either one paid for, I think that's supposed to be neither one, paid for pension insurance. Hope they seize my message because they know who they are. Have a blessed day, Sandy. Wow. And my question to you, Miss Juanita, is hopefully your husband has reported them to the Health Insurance Commission and has reported them to DLP as well. Cameron says, how come people can't understand that this mix-up is illegal? We desperately need immigration reform, too many holes. Well, we need immigration enforcement. We need people understanding, like a public campaign where people can understand what the law says. There is a responsibility and an onus on employers because, as I said, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But to be fair, there could be a bit more of educating of people happening as well. So Nita says some of these caregivers and maids eat so much. I had a maid that said she only drank milk, not water. Well, she can travel with her milk, you know. I mean, if she only drink milk, that's her business. But travel with your bottle of milk, honey child. Sunita says it's illegal to eat all the boss's food. What a hot mess. Irvelin says, I don't think the bank will allow you to open an account on a temporary work permit. The people open up accounts for the sole purpose of receiving a salary. So why can't you do a temporary? Let me ask. I mean, I don't know if this is going to apply to all banks, but let me ask the question. But I wouldn't see why that would be. Normally, all they need is a letter from your employer, and you fill out the form and whatever. I mean, you can open up a bank account today and drop dead tomorrow, so there's no guarantee. Cameron says Butterfield was afraid to buck their toe on Mile Road. Well, this is many, this is probably like 10 plus years ago. And they never said why. And they were actually kind of rude about it. Like, we don't have to tell you. And I was like, okay. But Butterfield is one of those banks that I know for a fact that they're always closing people's accounts and not even telling them why. And, no rhyme or reason, but, thankfully there are other options out there and there are other sensible banks. Like I said, they'd love to have me as a customer now, but too bad for them. I don't want them. I stick with who gave me an opportunity and a fair chance. There was no reason why Butterfield wouldn't have wanted me, or shouldn't have wanted me, I should say. I'm not laundering no money. Every dime that goes into my account, I can show you where it's coming from, honey child. Miss Sue says Cynical Insurance and NAU is so unfair. They only help who they know, and the employer needs to pay the caregiver. Well, I don't know that first part really applies to Cynical. I think Cynical, I hear that all the time, but NAU, I think the NAU process needs to be streamlined quite a bit, but I think Cynical, it has a process in place that should be followed. Scott says if you create requirements to run certain types of businesses, you'll immediately eliminate many of these garbage companies. If you create the correct type of requirements, you create an industry that's functional for all parties. Scott, where's the kaboom button? Where is it?
Kaboom!
That's my point, right? There has to be checks and balances. And because the entry point to opening up a business in Cayman is so low now, not even the fee is a deterrent, because we have it set at $75 for a business license. And so every Tom, Dick, Harry, McLaughlin, Ebanks, Tatum, whoever, just jump up. Once they get their status, once they get their little papers, they jump up and they open up a business with their little $75. And they're not running anything legitimate. Cameron says, I see you holding out and then you supposed political party. We're going to have to talk about that tomorrow, because I don't want my radio listeners to miss out on that discussion. So tomorrow, this new political party, whatever the heck it's supposed to be, we got to talk about McKeeva Bush, honey child, and his latest shenanigans and what he's been saying. Hopefully the primary camera will be fixed by tomorrow as well. Magdalene says some people are so desperate for work, they accept anything. And that, unfortunately, is a problem. Because what ends up happening is they're put in more of a desperate situation. They think they're desperate now. Imagine when people start abusing you, you can't pay your bills, and you're living in a jurisdiction like Cayman that costs money to live. That's why when we say to people, go back home, you're better off at home. At least you got family that can kind of help you and stuff like that. Here, you not got nobody, and family is back in Jamaica expecting you to send money to them. And they're stressing you out. That's why we have some foreign workers who come here and commit suicide, because they can't take the financial strain and stress that everybody's putting on them. What a mess. Thank you, Scott. He says all these situations and suggestions until there's a place that A, will acknowledge and record your complaint, and B, action, investigate, due diligence, and find and prosecute offenders. Natasha says, yes, you can open a bank account on a temporary work permit as a majority renew for a longer period. Vicky says you can work people in your house for 12 hours and don't feed them, but you expect work to be done. Listen, food is the least. I mean, I don't know these people eating you out of house and home, but food is the least of it. I mean, a lot of workers do travel with their own food. So they don't necessarily do that, but I have somebody here, she's cooking. If she wants to take out a plate of food, I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't think you should be eating at my house. I set a budget for grocery shopping. I give her this, I send it to her account, groceries, She goes and shops. She knows what we're supposed to have in the house, what we need. You know, there is a degree of trust, obviously. But, you know, if she needed to take out a little $5 to buy something for herself, I'm not going to be killing her for that. Now, if she's spending all my grocery money, that'd be a different situation. No groceries in the house. Sometimes you have to give and take, folks. You have to give and take. Yes. Good morning, Paul. How you doing back home? Says, morning, Sandra. Butterfield closes accounts due to lack of activity. They usually send notices. Well, in this jurisdiction, they have closed people's accounts for no reason. And it has nothing to do with lack of activity. They just tell them that they don't want them as customers anymore. I've heard of cases. And it's the only bank that I've really heard doing it with no understandable or legitimate reason has actually been Butterfield. CNB has locked people's accounts and they've threatened to close people's accounts because they're not updating their due diligence, which is a requirement by law. And so they have to do that. That you can understand. And they've sent out notices. They've warned people, you know, so when you can't all of a sudden use your account and can't use your ATM machine, that's because they've been telling you for last year to update your thing and you haven't done it. So that part of it, I can understand. Doing it for no reason, no explanation. The person themselves can't figure out what's going on. The only bank, I'll be honest with you, that I've ever heard doing that and that I've ever, you know, gotten from good authority has been Butterfield. Not even Scotia doing that, child. So I can't explain it because I don't know why they're doing it. But thankfully, like I said, you got options. You can go to another commercial bank. And that's why sometimes it's a good idea just to have another bank account open somewhere else anyway. All right, folks. Good morning, caller. You trying to get on air? We're about to wrap up.
You still on air?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm going to call you back later.
All right. Okie dokie. Let me see here now. Oh, Lord, these people in this women's group. Okay. All right, folks. That's what we got for you today. Tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit of politics, as the case may be. Give you an update on what McKeeva has been saying about the most recent allegations against him. Of course, he's not accepting no responsibility. We know he's not going to do that. I mean, heaven forbid. We expect that to happen. So he is what he is, honey Joe. What can we say? I think at this point, it's obviously pretty predictable. So yeah. Anywho, stay tuned, folks. We will bring you more information tomorrow on that front. And caregivers, know your rights, stand up for yourself, and find yourself a better employer or go back home. Those are your two options. Don't stay in this country. Do not stay in this jurisdiction and suffer at the hands of people who claim ignorance. Some of them may be, but a lot of them are feigning it. They are not ignorant at all. They just don't intend to do right by you. Okay? So find yourself a new employer. Get out there, do something different, whatever, or leave and go back home. That would be my recommendation. You guys have a fantastic day. Wrong one. My apologies.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.